Testing 1, 2, testing.
Hello, I just wanted to confirm everyone can hear me.
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, thank you.
Good evening, everyone. It's 6:31 PM. I'm calling this meeting of the Committee of the Whole to order. This meeting has been given public notice in accordance with Section 19.83 and Section 1984 Wisconsin statutes in such form that will apprise the general public and news media of such a matter that is intended for consideration and action. Roll call is showing trustees are all present. We've got trustee Borst on WebEx, and we've got trustee Kaminsky. She's absent and excused. We're now into citizens input. Would anybody like to come forward tonight and speak? And please keep your comments to 4 minutes. You will do. Thank you. I know you can do it. Me too. I've got a broken hip, so.
I'm just going to bring up a couple things I brought up before and a few others, but on the budget, okay, how do you save money? Well, I sat with Matt a couple times. I had 2 meetings with him. And this 3.5 pay raise should be should not be voted for. I don't know why it's there, but on $11 million salary, it's going to cost us approximately, Matt said, $400,000. That's ridiculous, okay? That's adding up over a couple years, because what he's going to do with our budget, the money they borrow, they're going to spread it out through 10 to 20 years, and that's going to be added to your taxes. What that's going to come out to, we don't even know that yet. And that 3.5 should be on hold till we get our act together and get those properties sold and get some money in our general fund. And other ways that we can get more money. I tried calling the Menominee Fall Police Department today to see what they make on ticketing on Appleton Avenue, because it is a real traffic bust. But I think we should have more officers on Pilgrim and Mequon Road, Levy County line. Today alone, car cut me off coming out of Council Bluff. I'm making a left and I'm behind the line, and whoever was driving it couldn't wait till the car went. They had to beat the traffic coming the other way. I think there's a lot of money there in not ticketing people. Sidewalks, I've noticed a lot of sidewalks being built, and Matt said we pay the whole thing. Well, I lived in Wauwatosa 44 years. We had to pay for our sidewalks. The city didn't participate in any of it. I think that would be another way to save money, because they're very expensive. Any developers also that come should pay all expenses for sewer, everything. And we should make sure they have a huge equity in their company so they can start building here if we choose to have them. And another thing on this Germantown, somebody had asked how much our taxes were going to go up on a $450,000 house. Well, that's not accurate, this $25, because it does not include school tax, county tax, and MATC tax. That's all going to be added. Take the 4% times what your house is worth, and you're going to get closer to an increase. And mine was $200 or more. So that's what the actual is. So the 25 is only Germantown's portion of the tax. And benefits, I looked at benefits. I didn't look that closely because I still have issues with my daughter's very sick, so I had to go to West Bend again. But we need to look at each item specifically to see what can be cut. And because when we see those rates coming up in all development, what did he say it's going to be? Those taxes are going to hit us next year, at the end of next year, for 2027. And we have to really tighten our belts. You guys got to look at everything. Don't be afraid to ask questions. Meet with Matt. Go over the budget. Find out where you can cut, because it all affects all of you. But these increases are just ridiculous. And even if it's spread over, the tax is spread over 10 or 20 years, it's going to combine with other costs that we have coming up, and they're going to be raised. We got to stop. It's got to be stopped. So think about this, really go over it and don't be embarrassed. Matt will take all the time you need to help you out if you want to sit down with them like I did, because it's very informative. And I think we could find another couple million in tax savings.
Thank you very much. Would anyone else like to come forward and speak? Good evening and welcome.
All right, Melanie Smythe, N140W17938 Cedar Lane. So I'm going to continue on with the theme from the previous meeting, and I was delighted to hear the President Soderberg and Trustee Baum talking about forecasting and projections. We have an excellent tool here in the capital improvements plan that has been started. It needs to be completed and gone through with hopefully all of the departments' wants and needs. I'm not sure if all of that's in there, perhaps it is. But what should happen, in my view, is that there should be projections and forecasts for worst case, high, all of the items being paid for as currently is presented. A medium range where maybe some of those items are spread out a little bit more because they can be prioritized if that's possible. And then a least worst one where we have options to look at what the different costs may be over time and how that would affect our taxes, how that would affect our borrowing capacity. And it would also need to include a look at the utility rates and what needs to happen with those for anyone who are on the utilities. So if we can do this and you can show us how much time we have to continue adding debt to that needs to be serviced, I think it would be a very useful way of educating the residents of the village. This, to my knowledge, has not been done before. We should be treated like adults. We can take this, but we do need to know in advance if there's going to be a series of difficult times where if we want to keep staff and we want to keep services, the village residents should be given the option of choosing whether or not they can withstand higher tax rates, higher utility rates, or not, or how it should be how it should function. So when I hear forecasting and projections, this is where this is what I'm looking for next from the staff. Whether it can occur during this budget cycle or not, I don't really know, but I think it should be part of the conversation. And we should have this that goes out at least 5 years based on whatever the current CIP is. Let me just make sure. Yeah, we just need the courtesy of being shown how our money is being used, how long to expect tax rates may go up, borrowing levels may go up, and when we can start to expect that we may be able to pay off our debt. I mean, it's pretty simple. Thanks.
Thank you very much. Would anybody else like to speak tonight? Good evening and welcome.
Good evening, Scott Effley, W159 and 1514 Old Farm Road. No notes with me, not looking at individual items in the budget, just over an overview of what I see, the optic of what this budget represents. And this is about the fourth or fifth budget that I've been involved in a lot of meetings watching going on, and this is the worst budget I've seen yet. Now, what do I mean by that? What I mean is we continue to shift costs of the village over to borrowing. Either we allocate more money to TIDs, which we know eventually you have to start managing for that. When those TIDs close, you're going to have to throw that money back in the budget. I believe we're throwing a lot of extra money over there. We have, I think, maybe 4 years ago, we had 30 or 40,000 in the TIDs, and now we have 350,000. Well, those TIDs are going to close, and you're going to have to bring those back into the budget. How are you going to do that? Stuff like that. So we also took about 170,000, maybe 200,000, and put it over, took it from operational budgets of the general fund and threw it into borrowing. So I would like anyone, I challenge anyone to tell me how we can borrow our way back to the balanced budget. Because right now, the budget is balanced by borrowing, okay? By borrowing, you're shifting operational costs to borrowing. That is no way to run a business, and I know we're not a business. There's no public sector really runs a business, okay? But where are we going from here, all right? On the sheet, and it updates every week. Are we borrowing 18 million? Are we borrowing 15 million? Are we borrowing 17 million? Right now, according to our finance director, we're paying off 5 million a year, okay? 5 million a year. So if you borrow 17 million this year, 38 million next year, I don't need a projection. You tell me when that's going to be paid off after everyone in this room is dead, okay? So we just keep taking on more and more and more and more and more and more debt. We have no repayment plan. Where is the repayment plan? At what point do we start repaying this debt? Are we just going to add on and then reassess the village and hope the borrowing limits go up so we can sustain it? Because right now, what we're looking at, the worst case scenario is we apparently need $142 million worth of borrowing in the next 5 years 111 for the village and a 31 for the utilities, probably for lift stations or something. So at 5 million a year, how long does it take to pay off 142 million? And that doesn't include interest costs. That's just not even looking at that, which would be probably another 40% on top of that. So this is what's called in the budget world unsustainable, all right? And what do we hear? Well, we're going to have to cut something. If we cut the budget, we're going to have to cut services. You might have to. You might have to cut people. You might have to cut services. You certainly have to cut borrowing going forward. I don't expect this to happen this year because what I saw again is another pre-baked budget where it was presented to the village board and all you were told is, well, if you cut anything, you're going to cut services. So in other words, the decisions were already made by the department heads or whoever did the budget that this is all we can do and you got limited information on what to do. So the information is very much lacking and not really transparent. You're not really given enough time to consider very careful, important decisions like tonight. So we're going to run through and say, well, this is the best we can do. And you're going to look the other way and probably sign off on it in a month or so because we have to get the property tax bills out. But this is not a good budget. No one should be proud of this budget. All right. We're just shifting more and more costs to borrowing. It's unsustainable. I know I've been saying that for years, but I do know what I'm talking about. So good luck. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Would anybody else like to speak tonight? Anyone on WebEx like to speak tonight? Okay, moving on to item 4, meeting minutes, the October 15, 2024 minutes. I'll entertain a motion.
I'll move approval of the October 15th, 2024 minutes.
Second.
We have discussion. Seeing none, all those in favor, please say aye.
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 Trustee Jen Miller?
Did you have your hand up, Meg?
Yeah, Trustee
Oh, I
Bob
thought you
Moore
did.
seconded.
Right, right.
We have-
I do have a question and I think, Kristen, did you have a question too?
No, I did not.
Okay, I have a question. I could not find this. So in the meeting minutes from our cow meeting from October 16th, 2024, we made a motion to take, this is on page 4 of the minutes on the bottom, take the remaining state shared revenue funds of $58,000 to replace earned interest revenue in the 2025 budget and direct staff to present language to GGF committee to establish a capital reserve fund to be funded from earnings on investments in the future. And I would like the finance director to point that out in the budget.
Well, we're not there yet. We're approving the minutes right now. Are you saying you want to modify the minutes here to reflect what you just said?
Well, or give an account number, that would suffice.
We're okay with the minutes, but you want to discuss that when we.
Well, we're not going to discuss what you want to, we can't discuss that now because we're not taking action. We're only taking action on approving the minutes. And if you need to modify the minutes based on what you just said,
Modify the
That's fine.
minutes by adding the account number. That's all. If,
okay, so item B on page 4 is incorrect, correct? You're saying that.
it doesn't have enough detail. That's what I'm saying.
Are you making a motion?
Yeah, I'd like to make a motion to modify that to include the actual account number where the $58,000 is.
We will do that.
Enough?
We'll do that.
Okay,
We'll reflect that in the minutes. All right? Any further discussion? Okay, we're voting on the corrections that, or the revisions that trustee Jan Miller mentioned.
Second.
I'm sorry?
There wasn't a second. Her motion. What did you say, Jack?
I don't think she made a motion. She just wants to make a did you make a motion to change?
I'll make a motion to add the account number to the
Okay.
minutes, please.
We have a second on that.
Well, second for discussion.
Thank you. Do we have any do we have further discussion? Trustee Cutts.
Well, this was something that I motioned last year and Matt can clarify, but there was already an account set up with the village through the code. And he is going to be giving us more information on that later. So at that time, we didn't know that, so there wasn't an account number to put in there when we had the meeting last year.
Exactly.
Okay. So we can discuss it later.
Yeah,
Go ahead.
If I may, I think what trustee Miller is looking for is some information.
Yes.
It's, as I recall from the meeting last year, the motion was made, I think it's correct, reflected accurately in the minutes. I think what trustee Miller has a question, and we can get to that question when we go through the budget presentation.
Okay.
Great. Okay, we're voting on the amended motion to add language referencing the account number to item B on page 4. So all those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? That motion carries. Now we're.
Yeah, me.
This is opposed. Okay. We have 4 opposed. 1, 2. Trustee Boris, did you vote? Trustee Boris, we're voting on the amended motion.
Yep, aye.
Aye. So it's 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 fails. So. Okay, we're voting on the original motion to approve the minutes from October 15th. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? That motion carries. We are now on to new business. Item A, the 2026 budget, GGF committee overview and recommended changes. Senator Pricklow.
Hi, good evening. So I'm just going to start by doing a brief overview of each of the committees, as well as any recommended changes that those committees made. Starting off with the General Government and Finance Committee. So GGF met twice regarding their oversight budget, once on September 15th and a special GGF on September 20th. At those meetings, they covered the budgets on your screen: administration, clerk, finance, special revenues, TIDS, community development, recreation, library. At that meeting, there was one recommended change to the budget, and that was to increase the board's professional development budget from $500 to $2,000. That was to allow trustees the opportunity to attend more local events, specifically chamber events, the Mid-Moraine Association dinner. Funding for that could be allocated from state shared revenue or state transportation aid. And with that, I'll start with any questions regarding the budgets that are laid out before you.
So just some protocol here. If we want to increase this from $500 to $2,000, we would need a motion to do that, right?
Correct.
Just a recommendation from GGF, and as we go through this, that's what we're going to have to do.
Correct. Or if there are other changes you would like to make, you can make those at this meeting as well.
Okay, so this is not a motion right now, and I'm just going to put my 2 cents in like I do every year. We get $100 stipend per month to attend chamber events, to attend dinners and that. I do not want to increase this.
Trustee Pieper.
I agree with trustee Miller. This is a time where we need to make cuts, and this is definitely a place. It may only be $1,500, but a cut is a cut. And I see many, many, many places that we can make very little cuts that will add up to a big cost, and this is exactly one of them.
Trustee Baum.
I will agree with both the other trustees. I just went on the record.
Trustee Cutts.
I agree with them also about not raising that because we do need to cut where we can. As the village as a whole is like any other organization where the biggest expense is the employees. And there isn't much we can do there. We have to figure out where we can cut and suck it up, really. I just have a quick question for you, Matt. You have recreation and library up there. Are you going over recreation next week?
I was planning on we can go over anything we like to next week. I was also planning on mentioning recreation tonight. I was going to bring that up more as we got to how to allocate additional funds from state transportation aid. There was a recommended change made by the Park and Recs Commission to increase recreation program supplies and expenses. From the budget process, we cut that roughly $11,000. There was a recommendation to restore those funds.
Thank you.
Trustee Jan Miller.
I'm just going to say that I do support this. I think that we we haven't changed our income for a very long time. And we do get a step in, but we are members of, each one of us as village trustees are members of the chamber as well as Mid-Moraine Municipal Association. So it is an encouragement for us to stay up to date and go to those meetings or dinner meetings. And so I'm for this. Thank you.
Trustee Warren.
I'll just weigh in. I'm against it.
Great. Trustee Borst, any thoughts?
Yep, I'm just curious how much of the budget we've utilized. Like how many of these funds have we utilized in this past year?
Typically, we get roughly right around the $500 mark. It really depends on how many trustees are attending the Mid-Moraine Association dinner. It varies from year to year. Some years, I've had it where only one trustee would go. This in 2024 and early 2025, I've had several trustees go. So it varies year to year.
And have we ever had to turn anyone down because we ran out of the funding for this, or is there more interest than funds available?
Not to my knowledge.
Okay. All right. Yeah, I think that then based on what I'm hearing, it sounds like there's enough funding for those that are interested. And I think being able to, save these funds and apply them somewhere else would probably be beneficial.
Some of us have just paid for these out of our pockets.
So this is my first cow meeting. So do we take a motion on keeping it at 500? What do we do?
Since if there's no motion made, then there's no action that's necessary. And at this point, there's been no motion made, so
Keep it
we keep it
at 500.
We keep it at 500, and we can move on.
Right. And I just want to clarify something. So when I said we get a stipend of $100 a month, that's in addition to our pay. We get $500 a month for our pay. We get an additional $100 stipend to use on dinners. That's why it's irrelevant to me.
Or mileage or.
Mileage or whatever you need it for
Or
expenses.
supplies or whatever the heck else. No,
Computers extra.
Okay, further discussion on this. Okay, let's move forward.
But I'm going to stick with the General Government and Finance Committee for now. I would also like to mention that I did hand out 2 additional sheets. One that is posted online and one that is a supplement to the PowerPoint. The 2026 recommended budget cheat sheet is a quick overview of the village budget, some of the larger expenses, the capital projects, as well as the projected tax impact. So I just wanted to mention that I had passed that out to you. It also is available online under our budget section. In addition, I passed out a memo that is a carbon copy of what is posted in my packet on the PowerPoint regarding the additional state transportation aid. So I think it's important to keep that information in mind as we go through this process about that additional funds that is available for the village board to allocate. So as we go forward, I would just like to continue on. If there are any additional questions on any of the budgets that are referenced on the slide before you, I think now would be an appropriate time to discuss those budgets.
Trustee Cutts.
This isn't really related to this budget in a way, but I would like to see General Government and Finance be a little bit more proactive in looking at this stuff throughout the year to see what we can possibly come up with for, I don't know, early debt repayment or other options or anything that we can do to ease the budget. And so we're not having to do this in like a month at the end of the year. So that's just to keep that in mind. That's something I'd like to see at GGF.
Thank you.
And
Trustee Miller, Jan Miller.
I have requested a couple of times for a 5-year debt repayment schedule. And I think that's something that we should be adding to the GGF as well. But that should be something that we should have available to go with this 5-year plan for all of our purchasing, capital, just the regular budget. Because we do have a lot of debt and we have to repay it. It's part of what we have to do with our money. So I'd appreciate that.
Yeah, staff is fully aware that there's opportunities from a forecasting standpoint, and they will work on that once the budget cycle is done. So
If I could just add a little bit of information on the debt replacement, debt repayment schedules and plans, especially for folks who might be listening in. When the village issues debt, what we actually are doing are selling notes that are actually tradable through the SEC. And the notes have specific legal repayment requirements. So and those are actually published every year in our annual comprehensive financial report. And as the trustees know, those payment schedules are also included in the sale day reports that our finance advisor provides us. So that's not a choice that that we make as part of the budget process or really any other process. Once we issue those notes, the repayment schedules are set legally. So, and those schedules are available online, both by individual note that's been issued, as well as overall, like the sum of all the notes that are outstanding and what that payment schedule looks like. So that is information that's publicly available, and it's not something where the board or staff or anybody else is making a choice and saying, well, we've got $75 million in outstanding debt, and how much do we want to pay off next year? That's set legally when those notes are issued. I just wanted to clarify that so that the public was understood that.
And can you define notes,
Well, a note is
the geo bonds?
well, they're actually geo notes typically. There's just some slight legal differences between a bond and a note. So basically, we're talking about the same thing. So when those notes are issued, they include a specific payment schedule, and typically there's payments twice a year on those notes, and we make the wire transfers and pay those off as we're required to by law. So it's not something where we can't make decisions and say, hey, we want to push this debt payment off. That's not something that we're legally allowed to do.
But is there a report about it for us other than going out 5 years, other than on the report that you're talking about?
Well, I mean, there are other areas where those payments are tracked, but I think the clearest place where it's presented, the two clearest places are the comprehensive annual financial report. It's in the notes to the financial statements where that's all listed. And there's a great deal of explanation for anyone who's interested in what the legal requirements are for those notes. And then the other place where I think it's pretty easy to see where that's presented is in those sale day reports. And generally, anytime we talk about debt, if you look at any of those packets that Ehlers provide, they always include in there a summary of all of the outstanding debt that the village has, what the future debt service payments are, for the life of all of the outstanding debt. And then it shows how much is paid for off the property tax levy, how much by the utilities, how much by the tax increment districts. And then, then the net is what's on the property tax levy. And then it calculates what the rate is and the impact on the average house. So that's all included in those. And I'm happy to forward those to any trustee that would like to see them. Those are all out there and available for public viewing.
great, thank you. Matthew, let's move forward.
Matthew?
Oh, yep.
You were talking about recreation. Do we have to cover that on this slide? There was a change.
Yeah, so the Parks and Rec Commission, one of the recommended changes they had made was to restore the program supplies and expense budget line. As part of the budget process, that line was reduced roughly $11,000. They had requested that that gets refunded and restored. So that can be done now as part of the GGF portion of the review, or towards the end, once we go over the additional state transportation aid and how we want to allocate that out.
Yeah, I know you mentioned that at the outset of the meeting,
well-
so are you okay with waiting on that?
Yeah.
Okay,
I'm
great. All right, Matthew.
Public Works and Highway. So Public Works and Highway also met twice, the first time on September 3rd and the second time on September 23rd. They covered the engineering, highway, parks, buildings and grounds budgets, as well as the two utility budgets. There's one recommended change that came out of the Public Works and Highway Committee, and that was to increase the highway privatized services line from 5,000 to 6,500. And that was to allocate funding to install the pump at Wiedenbach Pond.
Discussion, trustees. Thoughts? Trustee Rick Miller.
I'll move that we increase the highway privatized services from 5,000 to 6,500 to install a pump at Wiedenbach Pond.
Second.
Discussion. Trustee Jan Miller.
I just want to reiterate that we requested this because of the neighborhood. They actually always had a fountain, the pump in the pond. And for some reason, it wasn't put in this year. And they requested to have it put back.
Great. Trustee Cutts.
So we have to cut $1,500 from somewhere else or use the state shared revenue. Do we have to decide that right now, or are we doing that later?
I guess my recommendation would be, you don't have to decide that now. My assumption is going to be, and I would recommend that we use the additional state transportation aid to fund that change.
I can add that to my motion.
Please. Great.
I will add that to my motion. Second.
Okay. Further discussion. Seeing none, all those in favor, please say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That trustee Warren opposes. Okay, that motion carries.
If there are no additional questions, we can carry on. Public Safety met last week, Tuesday, on September 30th to go over the police department and fire department budgets. There was no recommended changes at that committee meeting, but there was a rather robust discussion on some of the lines that were included in the police and fire budgets, as well as an extensive review of the capital requests.
Do we have trustee Pieper?
So I can say that Trustee Borst and I both met with Lieutenant Von Berge and Chief Merton for a demonstration of the use of the suppressors that is being proposed for half of the rifles. Chief Merton was amazingly patient while going through this budget. But I do think that if you wouldn't mind coming up here so we could just discuss what we discussed, if that's okay. For the capital budget, I think we're able to remove a couple things. Which I would do so in a motion here, correct? Trustee Sajak or Attorney Sajak?
We do have an agenda item for the 2026 capital budget, so it might be more appropriate to do it.
Well, you
there.
don't, I shouldn't do it under public safety, or should I?
I would focus on the general fund budget under this portion. I think we should take the 2026 capital budget items as one agenda item.
I made you stand up for nothing.
It's okay.
What I can say is, that the demonstration was mind-blowing. It was, really made the need for the suppressors known. It was very informational, and I really appreciate Lieutenant Von Berge and Chief Merton for doing that for us.
Further
Yep,
discussion.
I just wanted to say thank you as well. I appreciate the time that you took to teach us everything and go through everything with us. It was very helpful and valuable.
Thank you, trustee Borst. Further discussion on public safety. Trustee Pieper.
I'd like to make a motion to remove the budget for, I know you guys are not gonna, I'm not popular for doing this, for Sheboygan warning systems.
Second.
We have discussion. Seeing none, trustee Cutts.
I will be against that at this time because we haven't finished talking about the sirens yet to figure out what we're going to do or what possible replacements there are. So
Trustee Jan Miller.
I would vote against it because I'm for having the sirens and I have constituents that have asked for them.
Trustee Warren.
I would vote against it. I think sirens are antiquated and there's better ways of getting the message out there.
Trustee Rick Miller. Thoughts? You don't have to.
No, I am not in favor of the sirens either, so I will vote against it.
Great.
Wait, you mean vote for it? I'm,
backwards.
Vote against the sirens, vote for removing it.
yes.
Trustee Borst.
Yep, I am in favor of keeping the sirens. I do think that they're valuable, and as Trustee Jan Miller said, we do have constituents in District 4 who have spoken to us and rely on those as well.
Thank you. And I too support the sirens because we really don't have a plan B in place. So I would ask both chiefs to come forward. I want you both to opine on your position on the sirens in the community. And if we do take action tonight to vote for this, to eliminate it, what's our plan B? If we have a plan B. Good evening and welcome.
Evening. If you were to eliminate them, they basically would be decommissioned. They recommend that taking the sirens down instead of letting them sit up there and rust. I don't know if they'd be worth anything to anybody, but that would be an option that we'd have to go for. I did put a resolution, we were looking at a grant to write for to fund 50% of the upgrades for the sirens. That should be coming to village board the 20th. So if that's something that you decide to do or not do, the sirens are, because right now the fire department is going to have to manually set them off. I guess that's not feasible based on the technology today. They should be remote access through the National Weather Service.
So the question is, if the sirens go away tomorrow, how would we communicate with the village from a mass notification standpoint?
As far as a tornado coming,
Yes.
we don't have any. You'd have to basically use your cell phones or any other
Okay.
weather
So
radios.
do we have a plan B? I know there was E911 with Washington County.
That is not an option.
Okay.
Washington County is not, Washington County would have had to pay an additional fee to get that reverse 911, and with their new system, they're not paying that.
So we really don't have a plan B in place if the if the sirens go away.
No.
Okay. Chief?
I have had many residents contact me via email and in person, asking for the sirens to stay. However, if it is chosen for them to stay, we do need to come up with a different solution for setting them off. As Chief Merton said, it is 100% manual right now. So physically someone has to go in and turn a key and push a button and make sure it all goes. And for us to set that off, what I have done is just taken a weather radio and plumbed it into our station paging so that if there is a tornado warning, the notification goes off in the station for someone to wake up, or hopefully they're not all out on a call to go and actually physically manually turn them on.
Do you support the current sirens today with knowing that there's not a plan B in place?
But yes, knowing there's not a plan B in place, absolutely.
Chief Merton, do you support the current tornado sirens today, knowing that there's not a plan B in place?
Yes, I do. I mean, the infrastructure is there. It's just updating that infrastructure.
Thank you. Trustee Pieper.
Perhaps this is a little bit premature for me to make that motion since this is being brought forth in front of public safety. And I am not going to go on my tangent about the tornado sirens right now because this is regarding the budget. And I will address it at public safety. But the tornado sirens were voted on to be taken down. Just saying.
So do you want to withdraw your motion?
No.
Okay, trustee Baum.
Yeah, it's coming before public safety again. I'm not sure how detailed we want to get into it. I will concur, this was voted to be removed. I don't know how it got put back on and not removed as was requested. But I have experienced various things. I've been watching this for what, a year now that we've been debating this? Over a year. And what I am hearing is the sirens themselves are the last thing that anybody turns towards. It's on your phone, it's on your TV, it's on your computer. Those who want to say it's outside, you see the rain coming. So it is an outdated technology.
Well, again, and I understand, trustee Warren, we don't have a plan B in place today. And what I support keeping this, our two chiefs support keeping this from a mass notification standpoint until such time that we have a plan B in place. We don't have a plan B. We could always, I'm going to vote against this. I want to keep the funding in place. That's not to say that going forward, if we do have a plan B in place, we can revisit that through public safety and not spend the money. Trustee Pieper.
We do have a plan B and C and D and E in place. We have radios, we have TVs, we have looking at the sky and seeing a tornado. We have, they were literally air raid sirens. They were not made to be tornado sirens. And I actually did my research and not one person has died from the lack of tornado sirens.
Chief?
I did have one more thing that I wanted to put in there, and this kind of fits into this exact conversation. After receiving the actual module for the tornado sirens and looking at it and getting some training on how to operate it, I didn't realize that there was actually other different things programmed into it that I had never even thought of. For example, it has different warnings in there for hazardous material spills. So if we have a ammonia leak at one of our neighboring businesses that sets those off, we can set those off to evacuate people from those areas. And what else was there in there? Flood warnings was another one in there. There was a number of different things that are actually built into it with different sounds that go along with it that would get people's attention. So there are some minute other things that do go along with it that may not be relayed by the National Weather Service or other things.
Thank you. What is the cost for this, by the way, with Sheboygan?
So annually, we pay maintenance of roughly, $4,000 to $5,000 a year. We budget $9,000 roughly every other year. Every couple of years, we have to replace the batteries, and that's $5,000.
The batteries are much more than that. I remember when we voted on that. Very, very much more than that.
So in the upcoming budget year, the line item for this is $4,000?
$9,000.
$9,000. And we're talking about a $9,000 expense on what's our overall budget?
The general fund budget expenses roughly 2.2 million or 22 million.
Okay. And we have both chiefs that are stating publicly that they're in favor of keeping the sirens from a mass notification standpoint. And we're going to eliminate it to save $9,000. Trustee Baum.
Everything you're doing at this point is pulling out a small little number to get to a much larger number. So it's 9,000 here. We were arguing about 1,500.
I'm fully aware of that, Trustee Baum.
Your concern that it's a small number, that's what we have to start taking out. The other issue is if we wanted a plan B, a solid plan B, you had over a year to figure out a plan B. It's time to take action that we have voted on once before. It's time to take these out.
But I believe it went back to public safety based on further discussion.
No, it was brought back we voted to have them taken down.
Yes.
And then all of a sudden, a year later, it was brought back to save them.
Chief?
My understanding was that if two trustees want it brought back, they can. And I believe that two trustees wanted the weather sirens brought back to public safety.
Which we can take this back up at public safety and we can do our due diligence and we can pull all of the history and go through it again. That's fine. And I'm more than willing to do that.
But you still want to keep your motion?
My motion still stays.
Okay. Further discussion? Yes.
Could you repeat the motion?
The motion by trustee Pieper, seconded by Baum, was to remove the budgeted line item for the Sheboygan warning systems.
And at the expense of, I think, Matthew, 9,000, correct?
Correct.
And by voting in favor of that motion, that eliminates the sirens.
The 9,000, correct.
I would say it eliminates the maintenance and batteries for the sirens.
Which they need that to operate. So you're eliminating basically eventually the sirens.
But we don't know what they do for that actual maintenance. I looked at the invoice coming from Sheboygan Warning System. It's literally one page and just says maintenance. There's no breakdown. There's no record of how often they visit, what they're doing when they're visiting, there's no record whatsoever of what we're paying them for on an annual basis.
Chief?
I do have records. They send them to me. They haven't sent them yet because they just did maintenance on them in July because they waited. They usually do them in spring. But since we were debating on the sirens, they waited until we actually moved the control module to the fire department and did maintenance on all of them. There were some sirens that they had to replace some mechanisms in this year. So the total cost on repairs this year was over $7,000. It was 2 separate sites.
Did we vote on sending it to the fire station? I don't believe that it was? Okay.
Because it was a $2,000 upgrade to send it up there. They had to run a cable and everything, and move everything up there.
Further discussion? Trustee Warren?
I appreciate all the bells and whistles and sirens that you get with this, but I don't think in the real world, the public's going to understand a different type of the signal. I don't think it's going to be really effective and work that way. We're all geared up that a siren, if there's a warning siren that goes off, it's bad weather. To introduce other sounds in that to indicate flooding or a gas leak or whatever, I don't think it's going to be effective at all in that regard. So again, that's why I'm against it.
Trustee Jan Miller?
I just want to reiterate that I am for this because public safety comes first. And whatever we have, let's just continue it until it goes back to the Public Safety Committee and they get to see what Chief Merton has as far as what the cost would be to do the upgrade and so forth and the grant writing. I think that's worth waiting for.
Yeah, if this motion passes, the funding is eliminated. That I just want to assure the public that if the funding is eliminated for the upcoming budget year, that doesn't mean that the sirens are going to go away immediately. The chair of the Public Safety can always bring this back to Public Safety for discussion with moving forward to the village board for action. So I just want to reassure the public that based on the action that we'll take tonight, if it does pass, the sirens will not go away tomorrow. So further discussion. Seeing none, if you vote for this, that means you're taking the money out of the budget. So all those in favor?
Roll call.
Thank you. You're right. Dollar amount.
Trustee Warren,
Aye.
trustee Cutts,
Nay.
trustee Baum,
Aye.
trustee Jan Miller,
Nay.
trustee Kristen Borst,
No.
trustee Pieper,
Yep.
trustee Rick Miller.
Aye.
And President Sudberg.
No, that motion fails. Moving on. 4-4. Thank you, chiefs. Any other discussion relative to public safety? And I would just ask that trustee Cutts that you put this on your public safety agenda so that we can resolve this once and for all.
Yeah, it's on. It was supposed to be on this past Monday, but it ran long, so it's going to be on next month.
Great, thank you. Further discussion before we move on. Okay, Matthew, let's move on.
All right, so now I think it's a good time to talk about the 2026 capital projects. Just to provide a little bit of background. So historically, the village has budgeted roughly $3.5 million worth of capital projects. The bulk of that has historically been for roads as well as some heavier duty DPW equipment. The 2026 budget includes an additional $13.87 million in capital projects with a total estimated borrowing of $17.37 million. That includes $3 million that was approved in the 2025 budget for Division Road, as well as $500,000 that was approved in the 2024 budget for a new ambulance. Trustee Jan Miller.
Jen?
I'm sorry. Did we get to recreation? Is that?
That to me next on the agenda items when we deal with additional state transportation aid. I think that
Oh,
would
I
be
have to
a
wait
good.
till state transportation. Okay, thanks.
Yep. So given the larger capital budget for 2026, village staff is looking at different ways to structure the debt to minimize the tax impact and limit interest expenses. As a result, we're going to be recommending next year a few different note sizes, a 5-year note, a 10-year note, and a 20-year note to spread out that tax impact. Historically, for the capital budget, the village has issued 10-year notes. The only time we had issued a 20-year bond was for the DPW building. So we can take this note by note, or if you'd like to go over all the capital projects at once, we can do that. This is what we would recommend. The 5-year note projects, roughly $856,000. The bulk of that is for additional public safety vehicles, close to $600,000 there.
Trustee Pieper?
So would this be where I would make a motion to remove items?
Yes.
Okay. Chief Martin, now's the time where I would need you. I'm sorry. You have to sit down and stand up many times. I apologize. But we said we could do half of the suppressors this year and then half of the suppressors next year. And we could get rid of the rifle lights and drone and put that off to next year to give us some cushion, right? To give us some savings for this year because we're in a tight spot. You need the cars.
So are you saying keep the additional 5 rifles in there also?
Okay, what if I remove the rifle lights, the 5 rifles and the drones and keep the 25 suppressors?
That we could do along with the squads.
I make that as my motion.
Second for discussion.
Discussion.
And oh, go ahead, Bud.
Trustee Baum? Can you repeat that?
Yes, my motion was to remove the 25 rifle lights, the 5 rifles, and the drone. And we're keeping the 25 rifle suppressors and the 5 cars, 4 setups, 1 car K9.
Trustee
I
Baum?
want to commend you for being so easy to work with on this and being so realistic with the budget that we're working with this year. I commend you for that.
Thank you. Trustee Baum?
Chief, I must have misunderstood something, but don't we need 5 new rifles for the new cars and the new officers? We need the rifles?
Wait, hit it again.
The rifles we were planning on replacing because we had 5 that were kind of mismatched put into the fleet. We would rather keep those rifles and get suppressors on all the guns and come back next year and go with the 5-year outlook for starting with rifles next year, 5 a year for the next 5 years after that.
And then in that plan, every new rifle has a suppressor and a light. Would that be?
The suppressed, basically all the equipment on the rifles, the optics, the lights, the suppressor could all be transferred to the new rifles.
Okay.
So we would just be purchasing the rifles at that point.
Okay. All right. That's all I had done.
Question referencing the lights, 25 lights. Do you have lights on your long guns today?
We do. Like it states, I gave you some paperwork there as far as justifications. Our current, excuse me, the current flashlights are 60 lumens, 8,700 candela. The new ones are basically 600 to 700 lumens and 90,000 to 10,000 candela. Lumens are the amount of light output. The candela is the directed light. So for at night shooting, distance shooting, that is what we would need for that. We could make do with what we got for now, as long as you would get the suppressors for all the guns.
Is this an officer safety issue if we eliminate the rifle lights?
It is and it isn't. I can explain that. It is because at night shooting, you're in pure darkness. You have to have the silhouette lit up in order to shoot. Daylight obviously won't need to light as much. However, interior buildings during the day when they're dark, you do need the lights also.
So the existing lights that you have today are not capable or not sufficient for nighttime outside?
Correct, for distance.
Okay, and therefore that's an officer safety issue?
Correct.
Okay. Trustee Baum.
One of the questions that was brought up at public safety the other night, how many times have our officers shot the long guns?
Rifle.
Rifle.
You
I know we
mean,
had the school issue.
correct.
Other than that, how many times have officers shot the guns?
I can't say how many times we have. We don't look for what we have right now. We look for the future as far as what we're gonna need. We want to equip our officers the best we can for the equipment. So when the situation does happen, they have the equipment that's gonna allow them to take the most accurate shot.
Maybe we could tell on your social media, we could tell all the bad actors not to show up in Germantown at nighttime. All right? Trustee Jan Miller.
Okay, I need some clarification here. So the rifles, all the officers have a rifle right now, is that correct?
All the squad cars have rifles.
Oh, that's right, one rifle per squad, okay. Okay, and then each one of the rifles currently has a light that's not quite up to par.
Correct.
Okay, so the new light would be extremely good at night outside, or if it's a dark room and going in, like if you're going into a building and there's no lights, right?
Correct.
Okay. So for me, why wouldn't we want, it's just an ask, 5 new rifles, 5 new lights, and 5 suppressors, and then have new total units put together so that you're not mixing old with new and you know what's going on. And then you can do that every year.
The issue now is the biggest thing is the suppressors because of shooting, how loud the guns are when they go off. The communication, when you're trying to communicate with somebody, when officers are going down a hallway in a building, most likely it's going to be inside a building. They're working next to each other. And as soon as somebody fires, the communication, there is none. You're deaf for like 30 seconds. And then you try to communicate along with trying to communicate with bystanders that are in there. Shots are being fired. It's not possible. The suppressors you can move them from rifle to rifle. So that's not an issue. The suppressors should be good for many years. So the suppressors putting on the guns we have now can just be taken off. And when we get the new guns, they'll just go right onto those guns. If that makes any sense.
Well, are you practicing with these things or what do you?
We train with them.
Oh,
I just did a demonstration with
Right.
the chief and Lieutenant Von Berge. They
Okay.
put the suppressor on, they shot it, they took the suppressor off, they shot it. Not only can you hear the difference with proper ear protection on, you can feel it in your chest when you are pulling that trigger. Say that they fired a rifle in a school and there were children nearby. Those children would absolutely have some sort of hearing loss later in their life if they were in that close of proximity to that rifle being shot off in the vicinity of them. The suppressors, I think, is the most important thing, and as I do believe you agree with me on that, as well as the cars. And we did come up with a plan for next year of getting more of your asks. And you are not the only department that I'm planning on making cuts with. I plan on cutting a whole lot of other things on here. I'm just handling yours first.
That's fine. The two biggest things are the squads and the suppressors.
Yes.
I mean, those are two of the biggest officer safety things that I feel. Squad cars, I mean, they drive them every day. The maintenance is killing us on a couple of cars. We've been neglecting our fleet for 20 years since I've been here. We need to get it up to par where we don't have so many cars down or having so many repairs on
Right.
these cars.
Understood.
And the suppressors are a must for an officer safety issue. When we go to calls, or even when we're training, we train with the rifles and we shoot them. We shoot the rifles more in training than we do
Right. In life.
in live, as far as if we go out on the street and have to go to a call. And that's where the injuries occur, is at the training, and not firearms, but with hearing. They do your hearing protection while they're at training. However, when you have that stock to cheek and shoulder, when you put it in, the earmuffs do pop off. I mean, you're getting the loud sounds, and also the concussion from the rifles going off. Also, you can feel it. And we do close quarter shooting, and when you're right next to somebody, the startle of the person shooting, or with the suppressor, you don't have that.
So what kind of rifles do you use? Just,
We have Colt M4s.
okay.
Trustee Warren?
So, Chief, what's the magic in the number 25? You know, how many squad cars do we have, first of all?
25.
We do have 25. So that's where the 25 is coming from. So every squad car has a rifle, therefore every rifle should have a light on it then.
Correct. Every rifle should be equipped the same, so that if you jump into a different car, that rifle is set up the same.
Okay, that makes sense. Thank you.
And again, getting back, can you live without the 25 rifle lights? Is that, I know you said it was an officer safety issue, but you could also say that the drone is an officer safety issue too.
Correct.
So, I'm sorry,
We have 2 drones.
but that, your motion is to eliminate the drone, correct?
Yeah, because we have to, and he
I
said he
understand,
could
I
wait
understand.
until next year to get a new one.
So getting back to the lights,
They are an officer safety issue, but if I had to choose between the lights and the suppressors, I would take the suppressors over the lights, because we have the lights. They are functional. They just don't give you that depth of shooting as long distance.
great, thank you. Further discussion? Trustee Chad Miller?
Just a question. How, do other, municipalities
All of them,
have the suppressors?
all of them.
Yes, the surrounding ones,
Menominee Falls?
they either have them or they're getting them. It's a trend you're seeing with more agencies. Mequon has them, Hartford's getting them, Jackson has them. The Washington County, the SWAT team has them. The officers on patrol don't, but the SWAT team does. So it's trending as more agencies are getting them, based on for the officer safety issue as far as communicating when you're in a critical incident.
So the SWAT team for Washington County sheriffs has the suppressor, but not the regular guys, sheriffs?
Correct, because the SWAT team trains a lot more.
Oh,
But they are transitioning into the patrol fleet, from what I was told.
oh, okay. How many sheriffs do they have? Do you know? Patrol? Okay.
I have no idea. They all have take-home cars, so they have a lot more rifles.
Oh,
Trustee Baum?
Can you refresh me on, we have officers that are on the SWAT team. They have long guns. Those guns have suppressors. But those guns are not the guns that are in our cars?
Correct.
Okay, so those are their personal guns.
It's
or
their
SWAT guns.
They're issued by the sheriff's department. So it's their gun and they're the only ones that can shoot those guns.
They're not in our cars. So that's why we need 25. Okay.
Further discussion? Can you please read the motion again, please?
Motion by trustee Peeper, seconded by Baum, was to remove the 25 rifle lights, the 5 rifles, and the drone.
Thank you. Further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please say aye. Oh, roll call, roll call. I was just testing you, trustee Peeper.
Trustee Warren,
Aye.
trustee Cutts,
Aye.
trustee Baum,
Aye.
trustee Jan Miller,
Aye.
trustee Borst,
Aye.
trustee Peeper,
Aye.
trustee Rick Miller,
Aye.
President Soderberg.
No. That motion carries.
I'd like to make another motion on this, not on the police stuff.
Thank you.
And I appreciate you compromising on that. I'd like to make another motion to, there's a whole lot of stuff on here that I think we can do without this year. I'd like to remove the enclosed snow blower, the DPW scissors lift, and also the trailer air compressor.
I'll second.
We have discussion. Matt, come on forward.
Sorry, Matt, you saw what I put the police chief through?
I can take a little bit of it.
Okay, so you have to tell me why this stuff is exactly needed this year and it can't wait till next year. It can't wait till the future. It's a live or die without it.
Well, the one thing with the enclosed snow blower, that's the biggest ticket item, $50,000. It's very likely that we won't need that. I mentioned it at the village board and we've been talking about it in Public Works for the last 3 months or so. We're working through an ordinance change where the village has less responsibility for removing snow on sidewalks. And if that were to pass, then we wouldn't need this piece of equipment.
And I would support that 100%. So
So I know it, yeah, I know everybody won't be voting on that tonight.
in my book. All right, next one, the trailer air compressor.
I mean, that's a 30-year-old piece of equipment.
Still working today.
It's still working today.
We hold off on another year.
When we prioritized our list, this was at the bottom of the priority order. So we could delay it. It will come forward in a future year. But yes, it is working, and doesn't necessarily need to be replaced.
And the scissor lift.
That's more important to us, because it's really necessary to maintain the new Public Works building. It's the safest way to get up to the high ceilings in the Public Works to do maintenance on HVAC and lighting, fire alarm controls and that sort of things that are like way up in
So
the,
what are you using now to get up to the ceiling?
we have bucket trucks, but that's not the safest way. They don't move as uniformly and can kind of jerk around a little bit. So the scissors lift is safest for indoors.
Chief Delane, and he could bring the fire truck in and bring his ladder up there. Sorry. I think we could do, okay, what's more important, the scissors lift or the zero turn motors or mowers?
I mean, personally, I think both are important, but for different reasons. The zero turn mowers, those are on, it's like there's 8 or 9, 6. So there's a rotation of replacing 2 every 2 years for a period of 3 years and then taking some time off and then going back through that cycle. These mowers are like constantly in use all
So
summer.
could you do one this year, one next year?
Well, what would likely happen is we would do 1 this year and 3 next year, to stay on our replacements.
Then that would be 2 every year.
Well, there is, and I'd have to look at our equipment projection, but there are off years in that cycle. But you're typically trying to replace them. We established a 9-year life cycle on those.
How many
So-
died this year? How many zero turn mowers did you lose this year?
We have good mechanics, so we can keep things moving, but that's not ideal at a certain point. You know, when a piece of equipment that's in heavy rotation,
is used for 9 years, then we're more likely to experience downtime.
And you have 6 of them.
Correct. Yeah, so these are doing all the mowing that you see.
The math just isn't mathing then to me, because if you have 6 of them and you're replacing 2 of them every other year, so essentially 1 per year, but they last for 9 years.
Yeah, I don't have the exact replacement cycle in front of me, but there's 6 and typically it's 2 at a time. And then as they come up in their life cycle, they're replaced on that schedule.
Okay. So I guess I'll stick with my motion as is for right now, which I left the 0-turn mowers on there.
Chad Miller?
Julian, what was the second item that you wanted to take off?
I removed the,
Snow blower?
what was it, the trailer air compressor,
Oh, air
the
compressor.
enclosed snow blower, and the scissors lift.
Scissors. Okay, thank you.
Trustee Ward?
See how cheap I am? I'm sorry.
Trustee Ward?
Yeah, Matt, I thought we had talked about those hanging baskets from Ekman Road, that the lights could not support that kind of weight?
That's correct. That's another item that could be removed or reallocated.
I would like to amend my motion to include the additional hanging baskets on Mequon Road, if that's all right with my second.
Yes.
Yep, very good.
Second. Mind it?
No,
I was.
Trustee Miller.
Yes.
Is that okay with you, Jan?
I really kind of wanted to reallocate that because that was kind of beautification and
But
we
the
got,
lights can't handle.
I
it,
know we
so-
can't do that. I know we can't
But
do
this,
that,
this,
but we'll
it
come
wouldn't
back.
be reallocated because these are capital.
Yeah, okay,
Yeah.
that's cool. It's cool with me.
So Matt, referencing the scissor lift, you do have a solution today to get to the ceiling. That's safe. The operator who's in the bucket is harnessed up.
Yeah, we have a bucket truck. It's not the ideal and not the safest solution. It is workable, but we do feel that the best piece of equipment to do that is the scissors lift, and it's something that we should fund owning that facility.
And we don't have a scissors lift today.
We have a scissors lift that's primarily in the library and then out in the field. It's difficult to maneuver in and out of the library, but that's a possibility if it's not funded.
Okay, and the scissors lift that's in the library, we can transport that to and from, but that will reach to the ceiling, correct?
We can transport that. It's difficult to move in and out of the library, but it is possible.
Okay.
And how often would the scissors lift be used at the DPW building?
It's hard to say. It's used to troubleshoot maintenance issues and to do maintenance on pieces of equipment. So it would be as needed. And then once we establish maintenance cycles for various pieces of equipment, you might be doing proactive maintenance on a quarterly basis. And then as needed to troubleshoot.
Okay.
But a scissor lift going to the ceiling is basically, you need to change a light bulb. And you need to do some other type of.
A light bulb, controls, HVAC equipment, belts, filters, that sort of stuff.
But if we've got HVAC, sorry, Trustee Bob, if you've got HVAC issues, our vendor is going to come in with their own scissor lift to maintain that.
And we would pay for that.
Gotcha. Trustee Bob.
So how often is the scissors lift used at the library?
It's used less frequently.
In construction, we are transporting these things back and forth daily. And I don't know what size this one is, but they usually fit through a 3-foot door. If not through a 3-foot door, you can get them through a pair of 3-foot doors.
Scott will know some of the more particulars about how the equipment moves around, but I'll let him jump in here.
Hey, Scott.
And do we have?
Welcome.
Couple clarifications. The lift at the library is not a scissors lift, more like a spider lift. So it does not move around as easily. It has about a 30-foot reach to it. So it's going to do a lot of the things if we transported it to the DPW. We started touching on something that I thought was really good. One of the things that I worry about is anytime we bring a vendor in, if if we don't have a lift there for them, they're going to bring a lift in or they're going to have a lift dropped off and we're going to be paying that rental fee anytime we need that service. So having this lift, having a scissors lift in the village could be used both at the DPW and at the library. It could be transported to the fire department. You know, as Matt was saying, the bucket truck is certainly available, but it's not the most ideal tool. Obviously, Trustee Baum, you were talking about moving them all around in the industry. The scissors lift is the right tool for what we need for high maintenance around the village in general. It would be primarily used at the DPW, it would be housed at the DPW, but it would service a lot of our different buildings as well.
The bucket truck doesn't work in any other building. It doesn't work inside the.
We've used it at the police department. We've used it at the fire station for certain things.
Inside the
It's-
library.
Yeah, you're not going to use it inside the library.
I can use it
100%.
inside certain buildings where you can get a vehicle in, you can use it there, but other buildings you can't. Did I understand that there's a second scissors lift? Or is it only that one spider?
We've got the one spider lift at the library,
Yep.
very cumbersome. You've got to
Yeah.
make sure all the outriggers are down and set. It doesn't move around freely when you're troubleshooting something. And this would be the only scissors lift that the village owns. We do not
I have a
currently
brand new
have.
building. So what are you exactly fixing on this big, beautiful, brand new building? And how often are you fixing anything?
We have 5 makeup air units that are in the ceiling. All of the security, all of the door access, everything is all up in the air.
How often have you needed to go up there to do anything?
Well, not yet because the building has been under warranty.
So there's my answer.
But if I could go ahead and finish for just a second, the contractors, if I had $1 for every time there was a scissors lift dropped off of the building in the last year, I can think of periods of time where there were 2 or 3 of them in the building for different contractors working at the same time. So it's at some point we're going to run into a problem not having one. Do we need it this year? Again, I want to be just as giving as everybody else so far and get the same grace everybody else has got, and I'm willing to give too. Do we need it this year? No, we are going to need it at some point.
Great. Further discussion. Trustee Rick Miller.
Yeah, Scott, before you go away, so there's a couple things here. Scissors lifts, yeah, you can rent them. Everybody comes in, they charge. Eventually you buy your own because it's costing too much to rent them. And it sounds like we're at that point. We don't have one building. We have multiple buildings in this village. And this one's 25 years old. And the fire department is that old. The police department's way older than that. So I'm in support of keeping the scissors lift. The other thing I want to ask is about the air compressor. 30-year-old air compressor is not very efficient. And does it do the job yet?
As Matt alluded to, it is still doing the job for us. It's 30 years old. It's up for replacement cycle. Again, it's one of those things that can we get by a year or two? Yes. I think one of the things as I listen to the discussion that I am always have going in the back of my mind is I think about all the things that are in the 5-year capital budget that we're not talking about yet. I think about the things that we're putting off last year and this year. Again, all of it compounds. So you guys have a difficult task in front of you. Can we get by another year or two without that compressor? Absolutely. It will do the job for us. And again, we have excellent mechanics. I'm sure if something goes wrong in the next year or two before we can replace it, we'll be able to keep it moving and doing the job. Would I like to replace it? Yes, but I understand where we're at.
So if I want to retain the scissors lifts, what's the protocol here?
You can
Do I
make
vote no or do I amend the motion?
Make an amendment to the motion.
I could do either one, right?
Correct.
Thank you.
So if your air compressor dies tomorrow and there's a need for it, you either go out and lease one, rent one, the air compressor, or you come to Public Works and say, we need to buy one. And if it's not in the budget, we just either rent one, lease one, or authorize to purchase one.
How often is it used?
It's primarily used during tar and mastic season. So between those 2 periods of time, it's 6 or 8 weeks a year. There are other tasks that it does. Obviously, we can break out small concrete if we're working on inlets and stuff like that, but that's its primary task is during tar and mastic. So about a month and a half, 2 months.
And you said that you could live without the scissor lift for this year, and you could use the spider lift that's at the library, even though it's not as capable moving around.
We won't use the spider lift at the DPW. We would use a bucket truck for our staff, and we would be paying rental to a contractor.
Thank you.
I'm going to make a motion to amend and to retain the scissors lift.
I'll second that. Get discussion going.
If I could just add in a little bit additional context too, just as it relates to tax impact for this project specifically. So this would be part of our 5-year note, so that payment would be spread across the 5 years. On a $450,000 home, if this project was removed, it would save that taxpayer roughly 50 cents. Just for context.
Trustee Dan Miller.
How much?
Those 4 items or the scissor lift?
Just the scissors lift.
Just the scissor lift. Okay, thank you.
Yeah, but we eliminated $109,000 already, so
And we're not done yet.
yeah.
So the question is also what it costs for the taxpayers, but what are we paying for any service fees for taking out? For taking these items out, interest, 5-year note, whatever it is. So what are our costs for doing the borrowing?
Well, if I could just say, if what you're doing is delaying it a year, and you're saying, yes, we need the scissors lift, but we want to buy it in 2027 instead of 2026, you're paying the same amount, maybe a little bit more with inflation. You're just starting the payments a year later.
Repeat, please.
Sure. If what your intention is to delay the purchase a year, and purchase the scissors lift in 2027 and 2026, you're probably going to pay about the same amount. You'll just pay it a year later than you would if you purchased it in 2026.
Pay what?
The-
What are you
the-
referring to?
The
cost
payment
for-
on the notes, yeah. The cost for the scissors lift and
And
the
so
cost
the
of that.
question is, what are the costs for payments?
I don't have the exact, if you, just off the top of my head, if the scissors lift is what, $25,000? So principal would be $5,000 per year, probably.
Interest would be a couple $100.
So, yeah, a couple $100 a year in interest.
Yeah, but we have a lot of items.
If you removed everything from the 5-year note, the 2027 tax levy would be roughly $25 cheaper per $450,000.
Yeah, okay.
And the only thing.
And then but it would be also reflected in our payments or our cost for the borrowing. We also have
Yeah,
that.
yeah. So the 2027 debt payments would be a little bit lower. The only thing that I would caution the board, and this is absolutely part of the process, and you're doing your jobs and what you should be doing, and I commend you for that. Just if you're looking at delaying until a better year or a year where there's less in terms of capital projects, remember 2027 will likely have a new police station. So in the capital budget, so the total amount of the 2027 capital budget is probably going to be significantly higher than the 2026 capital budget. So if you're delaying things to 2027, thinking that'll be a better year, it's not. Assuming we go ahead with a police station, it's probably not going to be a better year.
Yeah, but our borrowing is over 5 times what we normally do. Wouldn't you say?
Our borrowing is much higher than it was when our capital budgets were smaller. And I don't want to get too far off a tangent. I don't want to take us off topic here, but a large part of that is because projects were delayed and pushed back. If you go back 20 years, that some of these large projects were not we're not done and we're, you know, kind of kicked the can down the road to keep that year's property tax bill lower. And that's, I think, why you're seeing these, you know, there's this backlog of capital projects that we're trying to address. And that's my only concern listening to the conversation, is that we don't want, you know, we've done a good job. I think the board has done a good job in the past few years trying to address that backlog of projects. And, you know, you don't want to kick too much down the road and make that backlog of projects grow again.
Trustee Cutts.
I agree with the cuts so far. I know it's going to be tough. Nobody wants to hear it. I'm not looking at it as what can we push down to next year, hoping that'll be better. I'm looking at what can we cut this year. And even if it isn't going to make that much of a difference, it adds up and it makes a difference. It makes a difference to the residents that we're trying to save something. And I think government at all levels generally just, that's what you hear all the time. Oh, you're only going to save this. You're only going to save this. It's something. So I'm for cutting what we can and hoping we're in a better position next year so we don't have to do this.
Amen.
What is the rental for a scissor lift? About $1,000?
Sorry, what was
A
the
rental for a scissor lift? About $1,000?
Yeah, roughly.
So you're looking at 25
Actually,
times.
we rent them out quite often at work, and they're about $500 a day.
Okay.
You talk, Julie, or somebody.
Okay, any further
Can
discussion?
you guys
on
hear
the
me?
amend- Yeah,
Yes.
Okay,
we can
thanks.
now.
It's about $500 a day. We rent them very frequently for work because we install access points on huge high ceilings constantly. The place we get them through, it's $500 for the whole day.
Okay, and you're saying it's 1,000, correct?
I mean,
Between 500 to 1,000.
1,000
Got
plus
it,
delivery
okay.
and pickup. I mean, you're paying for everything.
Gotcha. All right. Any further discussion on the amended motion to add back the scissor lift?
President Soderberg.
Pardon?
No. Was it to add it back?
Yeah.
Okay.
Trustee Rick Miller had that motion.
Yes. Okay.
And if you vote yes, that means that you're going to add it back. If you vote no, of course, you're not adding it back. So further discussion. All those in favor, please say aye.
What do we have to do?
But go ahead.
I was just hoping to add one more thing,
Sure.
possibly some additional cuts that you could consider. The $8,000 for
Well,
the.
we're voting on the amended motion on the scissor lift right now.
Oh,
and then we
okay.
can have further discussion.
Okay.
Okay? So we're voting on trustee Rick Miller's motion on adding back in the scissor lift at a cost of, where is it?
25,000.
5,000. Further discussion. Say none. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed?
Aye.
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 Trustee Boris, trustee Pieper, and trustee Cutts, and trustee
Miller.
Jan Miller,
Ted Miller.
opposed.
Repeat the opposed, please.
Jan Miller, trustee Cutts, trustee Jan Miller, trustee Pieper, and trustee Borst.
Ladies.
So it's 4-4, that motion fails. Okay, we're going back to the original motion can you read the original motion then?
But I think he wanted to add something.
Well, yeah, we'll do this
Okay.
one, then we could always make some more cuts.
Okay, the original motion by Pieper, seconded by Jan Miller, sorry, trustee Pieper and trustee Jan Miller, was to remove the enclosed snow blower, the DPW scissors lift, the trailer air compressor, and the hanging baskets on Mequon Road.
Further discussion on that?
That's correct.
Trustee Baum?
Yeah, if there are other things you'll give up that would make me say, notice something on here, I'd like to hear the rest of what you're gonna offer. So what are you gonna offer that I may make a different motion?
Scissors lift.
Yeah.
So the truck 408 hydraulic line set, I think we can do without that. And, you know, when I talked earlier about how we had prioritized our capital requests in Public Works, and honestly, a lot of the stuff in this 5-year category was on the low end of our priority list. As we move into the other stuff, we'll be maybe a little more defensive of those projects. But the truck 408 line set is one. And then I believe we have concurrence with Chief Merton on the police annex office doors as well coming out.
Taking them off isn't any safety issue or anything. The doors are still working. Okay, good. I was going to ask about that.
So that's 14,000.
What about the welder?
I mean, it's in the category of operating efficiency for maintenance staff, and kind of like the scissors lift, it is something that we'll need in the shop at some point. Right now, it's a combination of different pieces of equipment. So could we do without it? Yes. Will it come back in a future year? Yes.
What else is on here that is in your wheelhouse?
The Village Hall hot water heater,
What's wrong with that?
it's 20+ years old and we're trying to proactively replace it.
Got it?
Isn't it in the maintenance schedule? In the regular budget? It's a question.
No, with
Because-
the expense being over $5,000, generally it'd be a capital request.
Oh,
So
I
that's,
thought it was based on life.
that's a
Cost and life, yes.
Okay.
that's a difference between general maintenance, fixing stuff,
Mhm.
and capital is the value on it. So your gutters are not general maintenance because of their value. It is a capital item.
Yep.
Thank you.
That one, the library gutters, I would recommend keeping in. That is a safety issue for residents, because the leaking gutters do cause icing up on the sidewalk, which can be a slip hazard.
Does that cover the whole library all the way around? Okay.
Is there anything else in your bailiwick?
I think we've cut almost everything.
No. Not even. What?
Got everything? Okay, I'd like to make an amendment. I'd like to make an amendment.
In this column.
Yes. I'd like to make an amendment to the motion to put the scissors lift back into budget and take away the hydraulic line set for $8,000 and the police annex doors for $6,000.
Do we have a second? Do we have discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed?
Aye.
1, 2. Trustee Borst, are you opposing?
No, I voted the other way.
Okay. Trustee Pieper,
I'm opposed.
pardon me?
I'm opposed.
Okay. So who's opposed here? Pieper, 1 through 3. That motion carries. Okay. Going back to the original motion, which is,
The 4.
Hold it, let her.
Well, it's the motion as amended, and the motion as amended would be to remove the snow blower, the air compressor, the hanging baskets, the 408 line set, and the annex office doors.
great. We have discussion. Seeing none, all those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed?
Aye.
Wouldn't this be a roll call?
Yes.
Yeah.
Technically, no. Roll call is only required at the point where you're doing your final adoption on budget items. At a meeting like this, where it's all ultimately a recommendation to the village board, you can
Thank you.
get away with just regular votes.
Okay. Who opposed?
Um,
Jan Miller? Trustee Pieper, did you oppose?
I did not.
Okay.
okay.
I think we only had one opposed, so that motion carries. Thank you, gents.
So could you go over the list that we have now? We have the air compressor, baskets, snow blower. Safety.
Removed or still in?
In.
Again, you've got the cars, the medallion chief trucks,
No, of the,
it's been removed. You want it, what's still in the budget or what's been removed?
removed. On this, no, on just,
On the 5-year note.
no, just for DPW 5-year note, please. I have safety doors, air compressor baskets, snow blower, and line set.
Air compressor, trailer air compressor, the hydraulic line set for truck 408. The hanging baskets are gone.
Snow blower.
These annex doors are gone. The enclosed snow blower is gone.
Do you have a total? Thank you. We lost 10,000. Okay.
We're adding it up.
Do you want the total removed or the total current 5-year note as amended?
No, total removed.
I would love to have the total.
DPW line items?
Yeah, just DPW.
Okay.
We got 98. What do you get?
Just DPW. Am I missing? I'm missing something, sorry.
What do you?
I got it. $98,000, that sound correct?
Yeah,
That's for DPW.
concur.
And then adding in the public safety, what's the total amount from the 858?
I got 26.6. I don't know if that's, what'd you get?
26.6 was removed from public safety.
Zeros.
25.
You were just fine.
Okay. Oh, yeah, you're right. Thank you.
545.6 removed. So the total removed was $123,600.
Great. Okay, let's move forward. Are we comfortable moving forward, trustees?
Yeah.
All right, let's move forward.
All right, looking at the 10-year notes. So the 10-year note is the one of the larger notes we'll be issuing or recommending to issue in 2026. This includes projects such as our annual road maintenance program, some drainage and stormwater projects, as well as some of our larger capital equipment in the DPW building, the pickup truck and patrol truck. The total cost of the issuance will be roughly $7 million. Roughly half of that is from previous budgets that have already been approved and adopted. The total issuance for the 10-year note for new projects is $3.5 million.
Before we entertain a motion, Matt, can you come forward, please? Similar to what you did on the 5-year notes, what can you live without on here?
Yeah, let me turn around where I can look at this. Not all of this is public works, so I can live without that. I'm just joking.
Smart.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, thank you.
It's the middle column.
I can tell you that there are lines in here that we more or less have to maintain, so that's maybe a good place to start.
Sure.
When you look at the $275,000 for Mequon Road resurface engineering, that's a signed agreement that we have with the state. When you look at the $85,000 for the county line and land and signal improvements, that is also a signed agreement with the state. When you look at the $275,000 for the Maple Road Bridge repair, design and construction, there's a critical finding on that bridge that needs to be addressed. So we need to move through our process pretty quickly to get that resolved.
And that was a result of the heavy rain and the flooding that we had.
Different bridge.
Oh, okay.
Yep. So this is the bridge over Goldendale Creek, north of Freistadt.
Got it.
So yeah, we should keep that in for sure. And then other items, I mean, those are the ones where, you know, we've made other commitments through board action. And then it would just be a matter of like where we prioritize the rest of this stuff. And I would say
I have a high priority on the road program. I think that's very important in order to continue with some of the progress we've made. The GIS upgrade and transition to ArcGIS Online is an important part of building out our asset management program, so I prioritize that very highly as well. The Main Street and 145 intersection study is one that would be prioritized lower, so that's the $25,000. I could see that potentially getting moved out or down the road. I did want to address the drainage improvement. So there's $10,000 for Maple Road drainage improvement design. We have a lot of, I know it's a small amount, but we have a lot of persistent drainage issues and complaints in the village. And this is kind of the start of a 5-year program to work through some of those persistent issues and try to address them that I outlaid in the 5-year capital improvement plan. So even though that's a small amount, I think that's fairly important. The DPW engineering equipment is kind of an efficiency thing. I could see that potentially moving out or into a future year. I categorize the equipment, like the patrol truck, very highly. And we could talk more about that if we want. One thing, same as the enclosed snow blower for the 5-year notes, trying to find it on here. Oh yeah, yep, 340, yeah, so the 272 of that is the sidewalk tractor. And if we make that change to the sidewalk ordinance, then we could reduce that number to 150 instead of 272. So we could make a pretty good savings there. And then I guess, for the other items, there's some park related items on here. There's a senior center item. I guess I'd rather have Gil talk about those. If those are in the program, then obviously we'll help Park and Rec implement them. But that's kind of my quick walk through this.
Gil, can you come forward? Talk about.
I had a
Could
quick
you
question.
ask, a question to Matt
Yeah, Trustee
before
Warren.
he walks away?
Matt, you have the line item storm sewer for 75,000. What is, I know what a storm sewer is, but can you be a little more specific on that?
Yeah, that's additional CCTV and condition assessment. So we've got a lot of stormwater infrastructure in the village that we just really don't know much about. So we want to be proactive and start this asset management program where we understand what we have and what condition it's in so it can inform future decisions about replacement. And this is just going further down that road and identifying the condition of the most critical aspects of the stormwater infrastructure, like the pipe underground that we can't see, the big stuff, and then the stuff that we know we'll be working on in the next handful of years with the road program.
So it's storm sewer condition assessment, basically.
Yep.
Okay.
Are you doing, is the DPW doing it or is this a contractor?
No, that would be contracted.
Okay, and then what is the no traffic signal thing?
That is a camera upgrade for a signalized intersection. So there's 5 intersections that use cameras. Unfortunately, the cameras that are installed in the intersections are no longer supported. And we need to upgrade the cameras across all 5. This would be like year 1 of making a replacement at one of the intersections and then having spare parts available to use on the remaining 4 intersections. And then we'd make subsequent requests in future years to replace the remainder of the intersections. So one of the things to think about is the flow of traffic. If these devices were to fail right now, there really aren't parts to replace them. When they did fail recently, we were kind of scraping the bottom of the barrel, like calling around the other municipalities, looking on eBay, things like that. And if they don't work, then the timing on the signals is way off.
Is it $30,000 a year for the next 5 years?
Correct.
That's what you're thinking? Okay.
Yep.
Is this flock cameras?
No, no, these are,
Oh,
um,
just
Traffic
hooked up to the
signal.
signal.
correct.
Okay,
Yep.
the actual signal.
What intersections are those signals being proposed to be put in place?
Scott's coming up to tell you.
I think they're already in place. These are
Yeah,
just
they are
for
in place.
replacement, right?
Yeah.
Because they're end of life, correct?
Yes.
The question was,
Are they
where?
still
where are
working?
they? The cameras are still working. The parts are no longer available. We recently had a knockdown at Division and County Line, and we ended up having to buy a camera from West Bend in order to get detection working there again. Again, Matt laid out the approach. The approach is if we do one this year, we can harvest the parts from the intersection we do it at, keep them as stock for future knockdowns, and we slowly phase away from this manufacturer. The current manufacturer is Iteris. They're still in business. They just don't manufacture these cameras or support them. Our local vendor is Tapco, and Tapco now supports no traffic. And that's why we're moving that direction. They're a local vendor and they can service it locally when we need them to support us. But again, what's going to happen if the cameras aren't in place? The intersection will still function, but you're going to function at your maximum greens. So if you have no traffic on your cross street, it's still going to shut down the main thoroughfare in order to service the cross street because it can't see what's there. So you
And
end
how
up in
many
Where?
intersections are these currently placed in?
5 total through the village right now.
Do you know, can you say which ones?
I'll
I
do
know
my
there's for
best.
sure not one on Western and Mequon Road.
There is not. They are located at Division and County Line, River Lane in the high school, Maple and Freistadt Road, Holy Hill and Goldendale, and there is one that is escaping my mind. I apologize. Still driving around the village in my head.
Goldendale and what was that, Scott?
Holy Hill, Goldendale, Maple and Freistadt, River and the high school, County Line and Division.
And Pilgrim and one that you just replaced.
Okay.
The one that you just replaced.
The one that got knocked down.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, that's Division and County Line.
Oh.
Yeah, that was just a single camera that was knocked
That
out.
one at Pilgrim and
Mequon?
I'll think of it. I'll shout it out from the back later.
All right.
How's that sound?
Trustee Warren.
So basically, Scott, it's a roll of the dice. If these fail, then your intersection really breaks down to a level of service D if it's during rush hour and that.
Yes.
And then everybody gets upset with the backups, potential accidents too, because people get anxious
Yes.
and they try to make maneuvers that they typically wouldn't. So we're just rolling the dice. It's a big safety issue.
It is a safety issue, and you're correct. At 5 o'clock in the afternoon, when you don't have your cameras functioning and they can't see what they're doing, and they're doing maximum greens all the way around the intersection, it's going to create headaches and frustration for people.
Then maybe we should look at putting those into, Division and Mequon Road and Western and Mequon Road, because I'm constantly seeing people either go through the Westbury Bank parking lot to avoid the stoplight or to same with Western Road, that the dentist office had to put up a sign, do not use our parking lot to avoid the stoplight. So honestly, I would like to see more of those put in place rather than replacing the ones that are currently working and not broken down.
I think that as 167 gets reconstructed in the next few years, we probably will see more cameras in those intersections in the future. Again, these cameras are fully working, but the Bob Warren's, I'm sorry, Trustee Warren's assessment, it is a roll of the dice. All it takes is a knockdown or two, and we're behind the 8 ball.
So we can't base the budget off of a knockdown.
What, the $30,000, what does that buy us?
And that buys us one intersection. So we'll replace one single intersection this year. And that also then buys us the 4 cameras and all the interior hardware from that cabinet that we'll hold on to in order to take care of the other 4 until we.
Do you control it? Do you have cameras back at the office and you can see what's going on at the?
No,
at the
these are strictly detection cameras, so they're
Oh,
being used at
gotcha.
the intersection just to detect traffic.
Okay.
Trustee Cutts.
Matt, I had a question for you. You said if we didn't do the sidewalk tractor, then that would only be 150,000. So what is in place? Because the sidewalk is 272. So how do you get to 150? Is it a different piece of equipment
be
or
a
only part of it?
Correct. It would be a different piece of equipment.
Okay.
So we'd buy, the sidewalk tractor does snow removal on sidewalks in the winter and it does grass cutting in the summer. So we would replace it with a piece of equipment that cut grass in a similar fashion, but did not have the snow removal capability.
So that would be in addition to the other 2 zero-turn mowers? It's different than that?
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
Trustee Baum.
No, that answered my question.
Trustee Warren.
So getting back to the signalized intersection, I think Scott's doing this a prudent way. We're just looking at the one intersection, creating parts for the future here. So we're getting things in place. He's not asking for all the intersections to be replaced now. He understands how the budgets work here. So certainly I would support keeping that in.
What's the lifetime on the cameras? Do they give you a lifetime or is it warranted for a certain amount of time?
They are technology based, but the cameras that we have at the river and the high school have been there for probably the better part of 15 years. So I think you probably get a solid 15 years out of them at least.
And warranty is typically 5 years or so, but end of life is 15 years.
That would be my estimate, yeah.
Cool. Further discussion on specific for DPW before we flip over to Park and Rec?
Yes, I do. Can the cameras be repaired with parts? So you're saying you would replace one of the camera systems for the intersection and use the old one for parts to repair other ones? What
That's
parts can
correct.
you exactly reuse? And how much are those parts if you were to buy them separately?
Well, the issue is that we can't purchase them anymore.
Right.
So you do this one intersection to gain an intersection's worth of spare parts and then use that for future, knockdowns that may happen over the course of next year until we do another intersection and then we have a few more spare parts. It's a 1 year to get some spare parts and then move through that program over the course of 5 years.
Who's got,
Further discussion on DPW items?
who's got trees? Is it DPW?
Both of us.
Tell me about the tree program. How many trees am I getting?
We would have to look at, yeah, I mean, it's
down from years past?
Ballparkish, yeah.
the funding is about the same as last year.
Quantity is down because trees are more expensive. Up by 3.5% per year.
Yep.
So.
Further discussion on DPW items. Trustee Jan Miller.
I would like to understand in that line item that's $344,000. What is this pickup truck?
That's a Parks pickup truck and it's on a life cycle replacement. So our pickup trucks have a 15-year replacement cycle. It's that old and it is due for replacement.
You can't, no.
Has it
The-
had any maintenance issues or anything?
Yeah, I mean, any piece of equipment that old is going to have maintenance issues.
Of
I don't
course,
know the
anything-
exact
Oh, go ahead.
Yeah, and yeah, so the idea is that we do own a number of pickup trucks, and the best way, kind of like we were talking about with the cameras on intersections, is to go through a programmed approach to replace these things. Because if we delay this truck this year, then we have 2 trucks to purchase next year. That's just an example. That might not be factual, but they're set on a schedule that we've established. And 15 years, I think, is a pretty generous life cycle for a pickup truck that gets a decent amount of use. So though it is working, and kind of like we were discussing with other pieces of equipment, if it were to break down, could the shop fix it and keep it working? Yes. But you're just delaying that, and next year it'll cost more when we bring it forward.
Further discussion, trustee Rick Miller.
So we've been going through this in Public Works for the last few months, and we've also started an asset management program, and that's where a lot of this came out of. So when we talk about cutting this now, I'm really not in favor of doing any of that. We have it on a scheduled program. That's what we're trying to do. It's a goal. Matt's done a great job in getting that set up. What I will say though is, I'll make a motion though to reduce that line with 344,000. I'll reduce that to 150,000 for the sidewalk tractor. So that takes the reduction of $122,000 out of the budget.
Second.
Discussion. Seeing none, all those in favor, please say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any opposed? That motion carries. Trustee Baum.
What's the election trailer?
Yeah.
Did you talk about that at?
You want to talk about that? Thank you.
I think it's for transporting the election equipment to the sites.
I can speak to that one.
Please.
So currently, we have our election equipment stored back in a room, a locked room as required by state law here in the village boardroom. And obviously that has to get transported out each election to the polling sites. And we've got our clerk and our two deputy clerks who are doing that along with some help from DPW. Currently, we're using pieces of equipment that are capable of doing that, but probably result in more jarring of the election equipment, which is very expensive. And you don't want it to break down on election day when you're moving it around. We're subject to the elements. I think Scott could probably talk more specifically about what equipment they're using. So this was a request that the clerk's office made to purchase a trailer that would be more appropriate for moving those. The voting machines and equipment could be loaded into the trailer and moved around to each one of the election sites and then picked up at the end of the election process. So, and then we also have the deputy clerk here who could, also explain more of the details to that. But that's the general rationale for it.
Can the equipment be kept in the trailer and the trailer locked in someplace, like in the police building, police garage?
That's a possibility and something that we've talked about. I think we want to make sure that the climate controls are appropriate and that we're not, these are sensitive pieces of equipment. And there are things we want the residents to make sure, or have confidence that they're working correctly. So it's something we've talked about and is a possibility. But it would probably need to be like a heated garage.
Inside the DPW?
Inside the DPW building is a possibility. Yeah.
I didn't know if that was not secure enough. That's what I don't.
That's another question. And I think we would probably want to get some outside opinion on that as well. Like, is that secure enough if it's in the DPW building and not under the supervision of the clerk's office?
Trustee Jan Miller.
I understand your dilemma. It has to be secure in that room. I realize that. But how are you moving it now? That's what I would like to understand.
So right now there is election stuff that is housed at the DPW that's, I would consider, it's not required to be like your voting booths and different things are there.
Right, yeah.
Those get loaded onto a truck. Our crew will come here, meet clerk's department staff. We load everything up. We're meeting them on site. So it's a series of just pickup trucks. Everything is open to the elements. There have been like inclement weather type rain, snow, that kind of thing when we're doing this setup. So like the idea of an enclosed trailer is a good long-term goal, certainly.
Don't you have a pickup truck that has the you
Yeah, a
know.
lot of this stuff is too tall. It's not going
Oh.
to fit in a cab.
And when this trailer's not being used during the election cycle, we could repurpose that for other village needs.
I mean, potentially, if we can find out that it's secure enough and we can keep it loaded and lock everything in there and secure
That's
it, it
ideal.
might
That
be
would
just
be
a great idea to just
best
keep
case.
just keep the election.
But if we have to keep them in here, we could use this trailer for other things as well.
I'm sure we
But-
could work with the clerk's office on that, yeah.
But can we rent trailers that are enclosed and transport?
I'm sure we could certainly look at renting. You've still got the loading and unloading factor there.
Right. Pick up.
When I worked in the city of West Bend, they rented U-Haul trucks. However, you have to, day before election, use the rental, and the day after the election, rental for U-Haul. And your timing on everything has to be perfect. What if timing is not perfect? Consider the one election where we had to delay because of the weather and the snow removal. Well, now your U-Haul, you're hanging around for it for a longer time period, so.
This is a must-have for the clerk's office, correct? Okay.
Really like it, especially to assist our fellow DPW.
Okay.
I think at either GGF, it was at one of the committee meetings, somebody asked, how capital projects make it to the capital budget. And one of the examples I did was, items that have been requested for many years that keep getting cut, at some point we put them on the capital budget. I know certainly in my time here, which is roughly 4.5 years, this has been requested by the clerk's department almost every year that I have been here. So that's why it's on for this year's budget.
Further questions relative to the election and or DPW? Well, we made that cuts on DPW. Are we comfortable moving forward to Parks and Rec?
I just had a question.
Yeah, go ahead.
Election trip. Doesn't really change the labor, does it? If we would get this trailer, I mean, I imagine that's a pretty big trailer, needs a pretty big DPW truck, and DPW's labor's still helping, so it doesn't really change that part of.
Yeah, it probably expedites like the taking it out of this building and putting it back in this building. But yes, you're right. When you get to the site, you're still loading and unloading there.
Okay.
Might save us an hour.
Trustee Pieper.
Street lighting and fixture replacement. I remember public safety, we went through this and we replaced a ton of all of Mequon Road, I do believe, lighting fixtures. Which fixtures is this $114,000 going to?
Yeah, through Public Works, we did took over and replaced all of the lighting along Mequon Road. This would be every shoebox and Cobra head fixture throughout the remaining portion of the village. So if you think of your main thoroughfares, all of our intersections across County Line Road, all of the street lighting up like Appleton Avenue, Pilgrim Road, I'm kind of hitting the high points there. What we've got right now is streetlight fixtures that are about 15 to 18 years old. They were replaced in the same fashion back at that time. And we've since converted them to LED. Our staff did the replacement 15 to 18 years ago, and then also the conversion probably about 10 years ago. And what we're seeing, maybe some of you have noticed these flickering or flashing lights around town as you're driving at night. We're starting to notice a failure in the LED conversion lights that we used. Those light fixtures or bulbs, I should say, they're lamps. They're about $100 a throw right now. So again, rather than just continuing to throw that maintenance money and the time involved in that, after 18 years, we felt it was appropriate to bring a project like this forward again, and then we're going to convert with a brand new LED fixture. I think we're going to get way more longevity out of the new fixture rather than the conversion we tried to do about a decade ago.
So I was told that lighting, well, my research says that streetlights last for about 27 years. So we're not even near the end of life for them. I would rather see light bulbs replaced than the actual fixtures, unless they actually need to be. So I'm going to make a motion to remove the street lighting fixture replacement.
I'll second.
Do we have discussion? Trustee Baum.
So, what research have you done? Have you looked at current light fixtures?
Yes.
And
in
they're the
Wisconsin.
ones that are 20 years lifespan. I would agree with that. However, 10 years ago, this was new technology, and that technology is failing much faster.
So you want to talk about technology? That's my area of expertise, actually. So technology for lighting fixtures is actually very simple. There is the electrical component going in, there are the light bulbs, there is the box. So actually, replacing the bulbs for $100 a pop on
These
some of
aren't
these
bulbs.
lighting.
These are
He's-
LEDs.
No, he's.
These are LED. You did a
Old ones with LED.
LED conversion 10 years ago.
Yes.
LED light fixtures 10 years ago were on the forefront of technology. They don't last.
So actually, my research says that if they're actually LED fixtures, they should last up to 30 years.
That's what they were,
Ones last 27 years.
that's
but
what they were discussing when they were selling this to us, but they don't last that long. They're not getting that light.
So a light flickering would be a bulb issue, correct?
It's a lamp issue, yeah. Bulb, lamp, yes.
So anything flickering, we can replace the bulb. We do not need to replace the actual fixtures. Replacing the fixture with something, what is it going to be replaced with? LED. We don't need to replace the actual fixtures. Shoot, give me that scissors lift. I'll go do it myself.
Come on by. We'll take the help.
Is that true, Scott?
You know, this is my research. And again, just as a clarification, the existing fixtures were a high pressure sodium lamp from somewhere in the early 2000s. Again, converted by us in-house 10 years ago. So the fixture is 18 to 20 years old already. Could they hang up there another 7 years and last 27 years? Yeah, probably. They probably will. The paint is flaking off of a lot of them.
Since when did we paint them?
Paint
Sorry?
what?
Since
What are
when
you
did we
painting?
paint the fixtures?
Are you asking us to repaint the fixtures? Is that
I'm saying, since when do we actually paint the fixtures? They're just straight up metal.
No, they have a painted coating on them, the fixtures themselves. And
I've never seen when was the last time we painted a fixture?
You don't paint them, they come.
They come painted.
With the,
Okay.
Everything that we just
Color
installed,
Coating,
yeah.
okay.
okay.
Further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please say.
But this is an amendment to confirm, correct?
No, this is a motion.
You made a motion.
There's a motion.
Okay, got it.
Could you repeat the motion?
To remove the $114,000.
Correct, to remove the street lighting fixture replacement for the $114,000.
So before we vote, riddle me this. If we remove this today, are you going to come back next year and the following year with the same ask?
The ask today takes care of all the Cobra heads and shoebox fixtures. We still have a number of areas in our business parks that have 20-plus-year-old poles and fixtures. So yes, this would be a continuation. And if we don't get it this year, I would say that, yes, we would continue to come back. At some point, we hit 27 years and we're going to want to replace them, right? So at some point, it does need to get done.
But just for clarification purposes, the actual wooden poles that the tornado sirens are put on are 50-plus years old and they are still standing.
Yeah, but we're talking the fixtures, so,
That is the fixture.
okay.
I would be happy to, Trustee Pieper, if you want, I'd be happy to meet with you. We can drive around, we can look at the poles that we're talking about, and I can show you exactly.
Have some time.
Trustee Bob Warren.
So yes.
So Scott, if we go just replacing the bulb route, do we need money in a budget for all those bulbs?
Matt and I were just talking about that. I mean, we do have a maintenance budget and we're currently buying lamps out of that maintenance budget. But just for a round figure, there's about 466 different fixtures through the village. So yes, we have about 20 of them that we keep in stock right now. But again, 20 bulbs, is $2,000, 466. Do we need to replace them all at once? No, but I would say they are failing at what I would call an alarming rate.
Accelerated rate. now.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I just don't want to cut you short here. If we remove, I don't want to remove this entire line item when you still need money for the bulb replacement.
But isn't that's included in the maintenance budget? Yeah.
You pays capital.
For a much smaller.
Oh,
amount.
For a
now-
much smaller amount.
Okay, now it goes into maintenance.
Yeah, if we were to replace the bulbs and then we can, extend the life of the fixtures to that 26 or whatever the benchmark is, that we decide on. But we do the bulb replacement or the LED replacement again. That does also benefit us because there's a big operational cost to us, one at a time going out to these lights, making a replacement. So that's a truck and a lift and a couple guys, over and over and over again, over a period of years, that adds up quite a bit. So I think to Trustee Warren's point, if it could be reduced to a level where we could fund the bulb replacements, that could potentially buy us some more time.
But that's all you're doing anyway is the bulb replacement, correct? What else are you doing?
This
if you have to
request
fix
was for
these
the fixture, the entire thing.
This would be a brand new fixture with this request.
From ground up,
No, just
just
the
inside?
top of the pole, the fixture.
Gotcha. And this is for how many?
Got the number.
216. So almost half.
So this could be typical, like phase one of a two-phase project to replace all the fixtures village-wide.
No, some of them already have been replaced, so they wouldn't need to be replaced.
Like Mequon Road, the 40 along
Got it,
Mequon
okay.
Road would come out of that, but.
Okay. Further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Opposed?
Aye.
Trustee Boris, are you opposing or
Opposed, yep.
supporting? Opposed. One, two,
Aye.
3, 4. Yeah, that motion fails. Okay. Parks and Rec. Anything else on DPW?
Wait. I want to talk about trucks.
I've opposed. Me, right?
You were,
Yeah, so, yeah, sorry. Yes, Trustee
Could
Jennings.
we talk about this truck, patrol truck? What patrol truck are we talking about? 341,000.
Snowplow.
That's a plow truck,
What?
Plow truck.
a plow truck.
Patrol trucks are plow trucks.
Okay, thank you. Snow removal.
Every year.
But I thought we had enough now. I thought we had 20 or whatever we needed.
On the one, we were on a single replacement every.
We have, yeah. We have a 20-year replacement cycle on patrol trucks. We had, or we have, and we're about to have less, but we have 22 right now. We're reducing that through the process we went through in our equipment working group to get to 20 and set up a 1 year, one every year, more or less replacement cycle. So we stay on this and we never have to do more than one a year. And it's just proactive replacement. These trucks get heavy use. They serve an emergency purpose. So we don't want them getting too old. We don't want them breaking down. And reducing the service level that folks expect in the storm.
And that has already been vetted by the Public Works.
Yep.
Yes.
Okay.
Yep. I
great.
wanted to make sure it was for the snow.
Trustee Pieper.
Equipment, DPW, engineering GPS unit replacement.
Yeah, that's a GPS unit that the engineering staff uses for surveying purposes. We have a very old piece of equipment that is cumbersome and slow to use, so replacing the equipment will be a big efficiency improvement for engineering. When you were here, when you just stepped out briefly, I mentioned that was one that was a lower priority. I would like to get it. So isn't fulfilled this year, I would request it again.
Exactly what is it used for? Can you give me a specific?
So
What does it
it gets a point on a GPS. You take a piece of equipment out into the field, it acquires a GPS signal, you stick it somewhere where you want to capture that point, like on an asset, or a location on a road or whatever. And you can download a series of those points into a database and then act on that information.
That's
So,
$20,000.
yeah, it's very,
How big is it?
I mean, I don't know if that's terribly important, but it's a piece of equipment, about that size, and it's on like a survey pole.
Man, I've gone into the wrong industries. Okay.
Further comments, discussion on DPW items before we move on to Parks and Rec? Okay, Johns, thank you.
Yep.
Gil, welcome. Can you briefly cover your items before we open up for discussion?
Sure. Well, they're not as important, but in recreation, what I'm looking to do is because of the popularity of pickleball and it's grown, and to cut back on some of the lines people are waiting to play, I would like to add additional pickleball lines to the tennis courts at Albauer. It's the same principle as we've done to Sposland in the past. That way, both either tennis or pickleball can play on those two courts. And that's a $2,000 project.
Where's that?
Yeah, it's not on there.
On the what?
We're on the 10-year list.
You have splash pad power coat? You mean powder coat? Kinderberg. Fence and tennis?
Is it Kinderberg fence and tennis?
Oh, okay.
Kinderberg South Path and drainage?
Is it?
Splash pads you too? Didn't we just redo the splash pad? I swear, we just spent big money redoing the splash pad.
We did just spend big money redoing the splash pad. We did the deck and we did all of the interior. That project is being brought forward as a maintenance project for benches. The benches are still original to the park. So it was just a bench rehab or replacement. And I'm trying to think, there was one other thing that we were trying to accomplish with those dollars.
Fence and tennis.
That's
The Kinderberg path and drainage. If anybody frequents Kinderberg, you'll notice that that southern pathway is really starting to deteriorate. We met out there with Kevin Driscoll, our village engineer, and kind of looked through that project. A lot of the water that's captured inside the playground drains toward the splash pad and then further south. So the project that's $54,000 is putting in some storm drains, capturing the water, the drain water from the playground, moving it through some structures and piping underneath the path. And then that's a path restoration as well. So that would be,
That disrupt any of the current splash pad? Will that
no.
crack it, break it, anything?
No.
And the benches, I guess, Jan, I go there often, but I've never looked at the benches. Do they need to be powder coated?
They look, I don't sit on them, but I walk by them, and then they look a little,
This is us just trying to be proactive and keep things looking
right.
nice.
I mean, they look a little like they could use some refreshing, but I don't think that's as
It used to be
important.
covered with like a rubbery material.
Yeah.
And then for the tennis courts, is that just the fence or is that resurfacing the courts as well?
The tennis course is basically resurfacing, repairing the cracks and repainting over those cracks, which is caused by water getting up underneath the courts, freezing the concrete, and then it comes up through the concrete and it cracks the paint that's done on there. And until there's a drainage system or a proper system placed underneath the courts, this is going to be an ongoing problem. we spent more money, but it was like 3 years ago. But now we're just trying to repair the cracks that are in there. And so that's what I'm proposing, that and adding the pickleball lines to the 2 tennis courts at Outbower. So you're looking at about 17,000 for those 3 projects.
Wait a minute.
Wait, so I think yeah,
Court's at.
Kinderberg fence and tennis compared to Kinderberg's.
Kinderberg fence, I'm sorry, Kinderberg tennis court also has a crack down the middle, a wide crack. That's probably a half an inch all the way down the middle of the court, and maybe a half an inch or deeper. So I'd like to go in there and repair that. And then the chain link fence halfway around the tennis court over the years is lifted up. So there's a gap under the fence between the fence and the court itself, and balls escape out of there. So I would have a fence company come back in and reposition the chain link fence and set it down, straighten out the fences. They've gotten a little crooked, and he would use a different type of post that would last or stay grounded or under the concrete. So we wouldn't have that issue.
What would that do for the actual crack on the court?
That's different. The crack on the court would be, they would come in and they would repair the cracks in the joints at Kinderberg.
So the Kinderberg fence and tennis for 55,000, that is just for the fence?
The total,
Cracks on the tennis courts.
the cracks in the tennis courts, the addition of the lines for the tennis courts or at Outbower to make pickleball courts. Also, as part of the fence project at Hopstrasse, the outfield fence for the Little League field out there, all over the years, all the posts have raised up off the ground. So you have underneath, you have nothing stopping the balls. And I've even seen little kids crawl underneath the fence playing. So I'd like to go in there and repair those.
So is that,
It's on here.
is that all included in the 55,000?
That's all included in the 55,000.
It's not just Kinderberg, it's Kinderberg and Helpstrasse.
Got it.
And
Hopstrasse and Outbower, yes.
Did you get any quotes to estimate this amount?
Yes, all these are from companies that I had visited with.
And this is something that you must have.
And how much did it cost to repair the floor or whatever? We paid $55,000 last year for fire station number 1 to make the floor by the drain tiles safer for children.
No, we spent $2,000.
So where'd the rest of that money go?
It hasn't been spent yet. That was to go to the shelter itself. The posts on there are rotting out. And
Talking about the firehouse.
there was no, yeah, we replaced the grates.
You replaced the grates, but you said it was to redo the floor because kids were tripping on the grates.
No, it wasn't to replace the floor. It was to replace the grates that the kids were
That is
tripping on.
not what we agreed on last year because I specifically was against it.
Mhm.
Okay, that was last year.
Yeah, but the money, if he only spent $2,000, then where did the rest of the funds go? And
Well, that's another project that I'm going to approach the board about after the budget has been resolved.
but right now is the time to approach us.
This is a different issue. This is for the 24 or 25 budget.
This is for the 26th budget.
26.
Right. That's why I'm not approaching you right now.
So you've got additional capital dollars available that you would like to
Right.
go to Park
But
and
it
Rec
would go into.
this year. Understand?
Right.
Okay. Okay. So the Kinderberg fence and tennis for 55,500 includes all of the maintenance needs that you just explained.
Yes, sir.
Okay, great. Anything else on Parks and Rec in here besides the drainage and so forth that we talked about?
Trail improvements? I don't know whose this would be. Steve?
impact fees.
Yeah, this is for recreational trail construction and improvement, and it can be funded by impact fees. there are a couple of possibilities of where this could be spent. And we have, partly will depend upon final design decisions on Pilgrim Road. So some of this money could be used for additional trail work on Pilgrim, or not on Pilgrim, on Division Road, when it's reconstructed. If it's not needed there because of right-of-way acquisition issues, then I would say it would be available for work,
Could this possibly connect us to the Bug Line Trail?
possibly.
All right, I'm not knocking that one. I am gonna make a motion to remove the senior center AV upgrade.
Second for discussion.
Discussion. Trustee Baum.
As I was reviewing the tapes, it seems like we are trying to bring them in one fell swoop up to today's technology. And I believe it's a 96-inch TV, I heard.
98, yes, LED.
Do we really need a 98-inch TV?
And for what?
For,
They watch movies.
Yeah, they watch movies. Right now, they watch movies off an old DVD player on the screen about the size of that one behind you.
Okay, so then you could buy a white sheet and use a projector and have a 120-inch.
we already have a screen and we already have a, 1992 projector on a stand that is on wheels, and it looks like, one of those little AV stands that I had when I was in sixth
Then you get a new projector,
And
that's 200
wait.
bucks.
Wait. And then we have all these cords, and we have 60, 70, 80, 90-year-old people walking around when they're trying to watch a movie or whatever. We have two areas where we already have screens. They haven't had any AV at all, ever.
So that's
And we
not
also
AV
have
problem.
we also have a TV that's a tube TV that's on a similar stand with a extension cord. We could rent more rooms by having that. And they do they play Wii, games. That's all, these are all gatherings that they have, and you have to sign up for them. They're regular
Okay.
programs.
So for $1,000, you could go get a 90-inch TV from Costco. For $0, you could do better cable management, which I'm not quite sure who the cable manager is there, but rerouting cables doesn't cost any money. And for even less money, you could get $200 for a brand new projector, and you could have a 120-inch screen. This to me seems $22,000 for this?
It's the entire, it's going to,
So I heard new TV.
yeah.
Further discussion.
Gil he said,
I was going to just highlight, Cliff Notes, some of the things. It would be a new 98-inch LED TV, ultra compact 150 series IP power controller, new video equipment, new cable system throughout the building, which we don't have now, which would have certified high-speed cable, which we don't have, ultra high definition Blu-ray player with Dolby. I have Wi-Fi for streaming video and HDMI cable, active soundbar system with 8 wireless subwoofers, and high definition touchscreen controller. So we would add sound throughout the entire building. We would have a conference room that we could rent out, that we no longer rent out, that we can provide a screen, and they can be able to do audio if they need it for their meetings. So it's just updating the entire building, something that hasn't been done to the senior center since it was built.
so what I'm hearing right now is you need a technology update, not an AV update. You need access points and something you can live stream on to eliminate the Blu-ray player and the cabling issues, the video equipment. I don't know what that even means. And the 8 wireless speakers would easily be able to connect up to the new wireless.
Much.
Tops? $2,000?
So Gail, the senior center AV upgrade, could that be also coined as senior center AV/technology upgrade?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Further discussion? Okay, go ahead, trustee Jan Miller.
I'm the chair over at the senior center, and it was unanimous to bring this in because we would be able to rent other rooms and get income with this upgrade and actually use computers and have our meeting and have a nice screen like this, which we don't have in the conference room.
Okay, great.
And how much
Could you
money
read-
would we be able to generate by renting those rooms?
Well, we don't even have a couple of the rooms for rent right now, not the conference room nor I call it the pool room because the pool table's in there. I didn't get an estimate, but our normal rental for the big gathering room, Gil, isn't that like 200 or 300?
It's, yeah, 300 plus a
300
deposit.
plus
And we rent
the
it out quite often.
Yeah.
So could we recoup those, the costs, like the 22,000, would that
It
be
would-
recouped in a year?
It would probably take a couple or 3 years to recoup it, yes, but we
Okay.
could over
Okay.
time.
How much is it to rent the new building in Fireman's Park?
I'm sorry.
How much is it to rent the building in Fireman's Park?
It is $350.
So you're renting the senior center room for about $50 less?
That is correct. You get
Why
more.
would somebody pick the senior center over that new building at Fireman's Park? And they're in such close vicinity.
Well, the Fireman's Park's not always available. It's pretty popular.
Okay, further discussion on this, on the motion, and we're going to please read the motion back so we know what we're voting on.
Yep, the motion was by trustee Pieper, seconded by trustee Baum to remove the senior center AV upgrade line.
Great. Further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
This is to remove it. Yes.
To remove it. Can you raise your hands, please? We have 3. Opposed?
Aye.
Aye.
Trustee Borst?
Opposed.
That motion fails. Any other motions on trustee Cutts?
I make a motion to remove the $50,000 trail improvements from the capital borrowing and pay for it with impact fees.
Second for discussion.
Second.
Great. Matthew?
Yeah, as part of this project, there's been discussion to fund them with impact fees. I believe there was a motion, and I can't recall off the top of my head. What we would do with this $50,000 is we would take a look at which projects were identified as part of the impact fee structure and apply to those projects. So as long as the $50,000 was applied to the projects identified with the new impact fees, then those funds would be available. So I think it's a good motion to make.
I mean,
I didn't understand anything you said. What about the impact fees?
That's how it's currently reflected in the budget. It is funded with impact fees at this point.
So it doesn't need to be on here then?
Have to be borrowed. We already have the impact fees, correct?
We're charging the impact fees, yes. So this would be this project would be funded by impact fees.
So we could remove this?
Yes.
Okay,
Yeah.
Well,
great.
yeah, no, we can't remove it from the budget because we still need budget authority. And it is in the budget funded by impact fees already.
But we could remove it from the 10-year note project?
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct. Okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
They're removed from the 10-year note project.
Okay, further discussion?
You don't have a destination for it yet either. So that,
No, actually, we do. In the impact fee study, it specified the areas that it would be used, and Division Road is one of those.
Okay, but we can remove it from the 10-year note project?
Yes.
Gotcha. Further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? That motion carries.
Make a motion to remove the $10,000 for the library studio pods.
We have a second. Tricia? Come on up forward.
She doesn't even have a second.
I understand, but I want to find out what this is for.
Before you second it,
Oh,
then second it for discussion.
I'll second it for discussion. Aye.
Hello. So we are looking, the library has been faced with increased volume over the last decade or so. We are constantly having complaints about noise level as we get busier and provide more program services for people, especially youth and families. We have a lot of individuals who are still using the library for studying, jobs, job applications, medical appointments, all kinds of things this day and age. So as we've been moving forward with looking at options in that, ideally, second floor would help us remove the quieter areas and put them on the second floor, knowing that it's going to be a while before we did that. We investigated on a number of options. Our one most recent one was looking at a sound study in minimizing sound level. This wouldn't help essentially the complete problem. It would just kind of dim the noise. That we looked at was about $100,000. So our next plan is looking at study pods. So these study pods would essentially provide additional space for either individuals or groups to complete quiet or private activities that they need to do, reading, working, studying, job interviews, job work, remote work. Especially since COVID, we've had a lot of increase with people using the library, not necessarily all day, every day as an office setting, but having situations where they do need to work from home and aren't able to do so and come to the library to complete those tasks. So we have 3 rooms currently. 2 are individual rooms and 1 is a 4 to 6 person room. Our sound in those rooms are not good at all. You can basically hear what's going on in those rooms. In the main area of the library, you can hear what's going on in the library when you're in those rooms, and you can also, they're right next to each other. There's like 3 in a row when you walk in to the right of the circulation desk. So you can really hear what's going on in those rooms. So we've had a lot of conflicts with somebody is studying in one of them, and in the next one, they're doing a conference call or completing a class where they have to be online participating in a meeting. So these would essentially provide us with 2 additional spaces. In the library, we would put them in our nonfiction section, which is more of our quieter area of the library. We're estimating about $40,000 for these. $10,000 we're looking for to come out of the capital. We would match that with our county capital funds. We are not able to use those county capital funds unless we match it with the village funding. And then the additional $20,000, we would look for our board to contribute those funds to that. So it would be kind of a 10-10-20 match for those, providing us additional resources for people in the library to complete the tasks that they need to do.
Thank you. Do you have a sound masking system?
What was that?
Sound masking, white noise, pink noise?
We do not have anything like that. No, part of the $100,000 that we looked into would be adding all of that in the library. One of the biggest cost expenses with that is our extremely high ceilings. So getting up and doing that work would provide that. Even with that $100,000, we have a very, very active kids area and programming area. So it wouldn't necessarily completely solve that problem, but the white noise would help with all of those things. Just looking at the expense of the $100,000, and that would help the noise, but it wouldn't provide any extra rooms. This solution, we are looking to add the additional spaces as well as solving some of that noise problem.
Great. Further discussion. And the motion is to eliminate the $10,000. I second it. Yes.
One thing, I guess, before the vote is taken, I kind of a question for the village attorney. We did pass some impact fees for expansion of the village library, and just wanted to check to see if, in his opinion, we might be able to use these the impact fees instead of bonding for these pods, if that would be considered expansion of the library.
Possibly, I guess. Not knowing specifically what a pod is.
It's like a
hard,
booth.
hard for me to.
Yeah, it's like a really big phone booth, essentially.
Is it like built in?
It's a module space.
You know how you have cubicle offices?
Yeah.
It's a cubicle office that has a lid on top of it and a door into it.
Do you ever see them at the airport? They have them for nursing mothers to go in.
Have you seen me ever take a vacation?
Wow.
Well, you're often not here, so I assume you are.
What you're doing, so.
I just saw you on the.
Well, maybe we could have that conversation after we take the vote. But seeing that no one was going to second except for myself, I'm going to vote no on this. I think it's a need, a must-have for the library, so.
And we'll explore that option before bonds are issued. We'll look into that and see if impact fees are possible before bonds are issued.
Okay, any other further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Aye.
That motion fails.
Discussion on the ambulance,
Yeah.
2024 ambulance.
Yeah, what does it mean?
Yeah,
Chiefs?
that the purchase of that vehicle was approved in 2024 budget. There's typically a roughly a 2-year delay until we actually acquire the vehicle, so we haven't bonded for that vehicle yet. So this project's approved. We're just waiting to receive the vehicle. This is just included to say that we're going to be bonding for this in 2026. This project's already been approved.
So does it go on 2020? Doesn't go on 2024 taxes. It goes on 2026 taxes.
It'll go on the 2027 taxes, correct?
27.
We held off on doing the bond for it until it was getting closer to the time of delivery,
Oh, okay. It's ordered.
so that it wasn't being paid for ahead of time without it being here.
Okay.
Yep.
Lead time on this is what, 3 years, 3 or 4 years?
So recently, and I sent this out to some of the trustee Cuts and President Soderberg. There has been recently hearings in Washington DC about concerns over emergency vehicles manufacturing and delivery. The times and costs of these vehicles have gone astronomical. Over the last 3 years, I think it's been, the price of these vehicles have gone up over 25%, and delivery time from an ambulance has gone from approximately 8 months in 2020 to almost 4 years now. So when you are looking at our items in your capital improvement plan for 5 years, we have one for 20 years for the fire department. We are in the process of currently redoing that, dealing with these delivery times being astronomical and the costs going through the roof. Just to give you an example, fire engine, the last fire engine we bought, which was 2015, the village paid about $650,000 for it. The current price on a vehicle of the same type is about 1.5 million currently. And the turnover, we're supposed to turn over fire trucks by NFPA standard every 15 years. So we have some significant costs coming forward with some fire apparatus. If you can remember, in 2018, we had our ladder truck refurbished. And as we sit here today, that truck is already 26 years old, and replacement on that will be about 2.4 million.
And
Okay.
is there not some type of a lawsuit going on between these companies that they're colluding with each other?
There is a class action lawsuit that has been filed by La Crosse. And that is what the basis of some of these hearings started from.
Okay.
So we'll see what happens, but basically it has been suggested that they are colluding with each other, and one of the major manufacturers owns a majority of the fire apparatus companies, and even the smaller apparatus companies have to purchase parts from some of these bigger ones to manufacture because they're proprietary.
So delivery of this is when? This year?
We don't know yet.
You got to be kidding me. Okay,
And that was ordered in 24.
okay. Thank you, sir.
Yep, appreciate it.
So this is going to go on the borrowing for 26?
Yeah, I would likely have to go on the borrowing for 26. Typically, we don't receive funds for capital projects until either the end of spring or early summer. So with that being due so early in 27, we'd have to have the cash on hand by then.
Yeah. Sorry, it doesn't, I mean, I think we could get cash anytime. That's a long time. This is a year and a half.
We have no choice.
It'd be roughly, yeah, not about 9 months. We'd have the cash on
We
hand
know
about 9
people
months
at
in advance.
Ellers, don't we?
Say that again?
We know people at Ellers, don't we?
We wouldn't do a separate issuance just for the ambulance. That'd be, a waste of money. We wouldn't do that.
Why is it a waste of money? Please
Because
explain.
there's closing costs for bond issuance and things like that.
Eh,
So we wouldn't want to do more, issuances than we would have to.
And you wouldn't be able to sell a single note for the amount of an ambulance.
Hmm.
Companies that are buying these notes are they buy in packages of millions of dollars.
Further discussion on the ambulance? Okay, thanks, chief. Yeah, you may.
Not to keep beating this, but we have been looking at other options too, to try and get one in sooner. For those of you who have been here for a while, we did take delivery of one in 21 and another in 23. And the one that we have that we purchased in 23 already has the equivalent of 167,000 miles on it. So
Mhm.
we are trying to find other alternatives too.
Yeah.
How many do we have right now?
We have
Not reserve ones.
2 frontline, 1 reserve. The reserve is from 2011 yet, so it's held together with duct tape.
This would be a fourth.
Right.
Okay, thank you.
Duct tape.
Trustee Pieper, this is the business that you should be in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I literally just said that to the right.
What do you want to talk about, Jan?
Well, division, I know, but we have, the construction is in 27. It probably won't start next year.
No, we're hoping that the construction starts next year. Phase 1, that would be north of Jefferson Creek, and then phase 2 and 27 south.
Okay, so there's 26 and 27. So why couldn't we borrow 1.5 for 26 and 1.5 for 27?
Speaking only from a project perspective, the only thing that I would be concerned about is cash flow for the project and not stopping the work. So we would need to borrow an amount for 2026 that would get us through the point where cash from the bond issuance in 2027 was available. Whatever number that is, I would be fine with a reduction, below the 3 million to something else. But then you're talking, I guess, to their point recently about the remainder being a relatively small amount. And
1.5 million is small.
no, that's not what I was saying.
Oh. Well,
If you just divide it in half, but I don't know that we would just divide it in half. I think we're likely facing more costs in the first phase than the second phase. So whether it's 2 million or 2.2, whatever would need the remainder, for 27, I don't know if it would make sense financially for the bond issuance purposes to do that.
But there's more. You're going out for a grant as well, right?
Correct.
Yeah. So there's always that possibility.
Yeah, I mean, we'll apply and hopefully we'll be successful with that and reduce the total cost to the village, but that's unknown at this point.
Correct. But, what do you do? Here's the example. So then what do you do if you borrow the whole 3 million? You are only doing a portion, half, or with a northern half, whatever that cost is. And then you have to, and then you get a grant. Then what do you do with the leftover? Now we have borrowed money.
We would probably just reallocate that to the road improvement program. So if let's say we
The what?
The annual road program. we would just reallocate that to the annual road program and either do additional roads or not just borrow for it the following year since we'd already have the extra cash on hand.
Further discussion on the Division Road reconstruction.
So what would it cost us to do the, in this bundle, the 3 million? I mean, what are all the costs, closing?
Closing costs are on the entire bond issuance. Typically, when you look at bond counsel fees, financial advisory fees, other fees that are in, you're probably talking about, I don't know, $50,000 to $75,000.
Yeah,
total.
depending on the size of the issuance, I think we're typically between, I've seen it as high as, 85,000. I've seen it as low as 55,000. So somewhere in that range.
Yeah.
But you're going to be looking at the 3.5. So you're looking at $7 million. You're going to go out and get a 10-year note for that, for all inclusive. Okay. Got it.
And interest rates, actually, I just saw yesterday, I got a email from the finance director in Wauwatosa. They just issued they do their bond issuance in the fall, and they were at, I believe it was 3.66%.
And would it be safe to say that, I know you want to start phase 1 of it, but if time permits, you could move forward with other things, or is that not accurate?
Probably not accurate. We'd probably need to take it a year at a time, just based on the pace of engineering.
Got it.
And just one other piece of information on this, when we have major projects like this and we borrow, we do work with Public Works, and with the other side of Ehlers is currently handling our investments, and we'll figure out the cash flow, and then the funds that we're not using will get invested. So, and we're able to actually generate a fair amount of revenue from those investments while the project progresses. So we're not, stuffing it. It's not cash sitting in boxes in the back of one of those rooms. It's invested in, in various.
Matt? Any further discussion on this before we move forward?
I would like to propose a break,
Sure, we could take a
3-minute break.
3-minute break. That's fine.
Before we go to 20-year, whatever. Timer's on, you better get.
I don't think we have 20-year, do we?
Just a couple of projects in there.
Okay, we are almost close to completing the whole agenda, and if we complete this over the next 20 minutes, we don't have to have a meeting next week. So
Either you finish up item E, F, and no meeting next week, or you do. It's up to you guys.
well, do you want to put the 20-year to next week? No? Okay. Right.
I did not expect this to go that long, but I mean. Yeah, I'll let her know.
Do you want to do WebEx? That's fine. That's fine. Pretty bad. Okay, we'll get going in 1 minute. Does Matthew need to be here for this? Okay, we're gonna get going. We're now on to the 20-year note projects. Minister.
There are just two items, large ticket items that are on the 20-year note project. $3 million for the police department design, and then $6.5 million for the renovation and expansion of Fire Station 2.
Discussion. Trustee Baum.
These are the two items that I have a problem with as far as wanting to know how we're going to pay this, which I tie into the closing of TID district. Information. I can't support these right now just because I don't know where the money's coming from.
They're coming from a 20-year note, so we just.
I understand that, but how are we paying that note down?
It'd be
That's-
paid through the debt service levy as well as impact fees.
And I'd like to see that. I'd like to understand. That's where the forecast comes in for me as to where is TIF money. Those TIDs are closing out eventually.
Yes.
When are they closing out? How much are we bringing in? How much is our share of that revenue? And what are we doing with that? That's what I feel I need to know that before I start spending $30 million on buildings.
Well, so the TID goes to the general fund, so it'd be part of the general fund tax levy, not the debt service tax levy. When TIDs close, any remaining fund balance gets allocated out to the taxing jurisdictions. So the village would get a portion of that and would be able to use that either to, put into fund balance, to fund one-time capital projects, buy down the debt service levy for a single year, those are options. But I don't know how that it's quite not related to the 20-year note. It wouldn't have a significant impact over the life of the 20-year note.
And if I could add, the way that we handled this, when we were doing the DPW building, as an example, we actually handled the things that you were talking about when we were preparing to actually issue the debt. We had Ehlers come in and then they listed out, you might recall, they had like 3 different options of the way the debt could be structured. And they looked at things like when the TIDs closed and what the property tax levy would be and what the impact of the additional tax base would be on the debt service, the rate for the debt service levy. But we didn't go through that process until we had an approved project and we knew what the project was going to cost and how much we were going to have to issue. So if we followed the same kind of timeline and process as we did with the DPW building, we would look at that borrowing structure when we're ready to borrow.
And that's, so how we're gonna, so we're talking about borrowing the $9 million now, but we're not gonna figure out how we're gonna pay for it until we actually go out and borrow it? Is that what you're telling me?
Well, I think when it comes to the questions you're asking, and again, using the DPW building as a model, that's something we would probably do when we're talking about borrowing for the construction of the police station. That's going to be a much larger bond issuance. And that would be one where we might want to structure it around the closing of the TIDs. And again, and that's what we did with the DPW building. I think I think Ehlers, I haven't talked with Ehlers about this, but I think they would probably advise us against trying to structure every year's bond issuance against the schedule for the closing of the TIDs. We could, when we're ready to actually issue this debt, that's a question we could ask them and get that feedback. But again, I see that as kind of a question and an issue that we address when we're actually putting together the structure for the bond issuance.
Further discussion on the 20-year note projects. Trustee Jan Miller.
My understanding is we don't have a location for the police department right now. And so I'm confused why we would go forward with the design if we don't have the location nailed down.
Well, I think the question for the board is, do you believe you'll have a location by the end of 2026? And if you don't think that you're going to be able to come to a decision on where to locate a new police department by the end of 2026, then you're right. It probably doesn't make sense to include this in the budget. I guess I know the police department is hoping, and I think my recommendation is that the need is there, and we should try to make a decision before the end of 2026 on where the police station is located. And we had a good discussion at Public Safety earlier this week. They asked for some more information. We'll be bringing that back to the board on Monday, the 20th. I think this is in with the idea being that it is the intent of the village board to move forward and identify a location and move forward with design.
Well, the assumption here, correct me if I'm wrong, I learned this from David Baum, that if you have a building that's approximately 30 million, like 10% is design. Boom. But I'm looking at the fire station, and then some of the, I thought there was something that was approximately in that range, somewhere around 10 million, not 30 million, for designing a police department.
No.
No, I mean finishing it. Sorry.
Building a new fire station was a higher price.
Yes.
Not on the table anymore.
No, but what is the police department building supposed to look like? We don't know.
No.
We don't know. That's what the design is for.
This is an estimate.
Right.
And then they'll do schematic design, then you'll see what it looks like.
But you don't need 3 million. You're not going to, are you going to start the building in 2026?
If I start the building in January, I could finish designing it in December. I would spend an entire $3 million in 1 year designing fire station. The place
They're expensive.
And
Okay.
Public Safety will by then we'll identify a location.
Yeah.
And the $3 million is needed to design a building for that, whatever location that is.
I think it's over designed. I think that's too high.
I would say that's not to exceed 3 million, if they could bring it in.
But it's
1.5,
we're
2
talking
million,
about
2.5.
borrowing it.
Yeah.
Well, There will be a couple of steps here in between today and when it gets borrowed, or between budget adoption and when it gets borrowed. If the board does approve the $3 million in the budget, and when the board identifies a site, then we'll be ready to go out for an RFP for design services. So that'll be a competitive process. We'll issue an RFP. There are a number of firms that are capable of doing this. And then the results of that RFP will come back to the board for approval. And it may be less than $3 million. You know, we'll do everything we can to try to get proposals in that are less than $3 million. And then after that amount is known, hopefully that would be before bonds are issued next spring, then that amount could be adjusted by the board. So that if the design contract comes in for 2.7 million or 2.5 million, you know, even though the budget says 3 million that you adopt now, the board would borrow for less. They would only borrow for what was needed.
That's what I want to hear. We're only going to borrow for what we need. So my vision is that it's going to be less than 3 million. That's my hope.
Further discussion on this or a motion? Okay, let's move forward.
Included in the PowerPoint was the projected tax impact of the capital fund for 2026. Since there were changes made to the capital projects, that average impact would be lower. Probably not significantly lower, but you know, probably at least $10 to $20 lower than it would have been without the changes made. Obviously, the largest projects are driving that change. I can provide an updated number once I run all the new calculations based on the changes made tonight.
Great, thank you. For any questions on that before we move on? Okay.
These slides might look a little familiar. I presented them on Monday as it relates to additional state transportation aid. There's roughly $170,000 that the village can reallocate throughout the 2026 recommended budget. I did include a memo in front of all of you. Towards the bottom of the front page is staff's recommendation. There were some changes made tonight. However, if we take the changes that were approved at the committee of the whole, we would have allocated roughly $165,000 of that 170 if the staff recommended allocation is approved.
Well, the $1,500, that's already approved for 5 notes, I believe. 5-year notes.
So what staff would recommend is taking of the $170,000, we already allocated $1,500 to Wiedenbach Pond. We would remove all interest earnings from the general fund and allocate them to our capital reserve fund. We'd refund the recreation program and supplies, refund library program supplies and expenses, as well as move some of the capital items, such as the library gutter repair, out of the capital fund and just pay cash for that project rather than issue notes for them.
Trustee Baum.
How much money has been allocated by the planning department for the Gateway master plan?
The plan, and this is again a decision for the board, was to fund the cost of the Gateway master plan out of the tax increment district.
How much? What's the dollar value?
I don't remember what the estimate was from planning. I think it was
How much money has been allocated to the public information for the village center?
At this point, there have not been any funds allocated.
Okay, so we have a project, we have land that we have acquired, and there is nothing to move that project forward. We aren't funding the public information that we are waiting for to move this project somewhere off of dead center. We are going to sit here and not spend a dime to move that forward. All the costs associated with all that land is now on the taxpayers' money because we're not doing anything to move that forward.
That's not accurate.
Sounds like it. What do we
No.
want to move it forward?
There's direction from the plan commission to do an RFP to get a consultant to do meetings.
How much has been funded for that?
Nothing right
Nothing.
now.
Well, there's two different projects going on, and I know this has been a source of some confusion. So there is the board directed staff to come back with an RFP for community engagement related to the Flower Source property. And community development staff is drafting that, and that will be before the board on the 20th, that draft RFP. What we have been doing with expenses related to the Flower Source is we've been accumulating those in a specific account and tracking all of those costs. And depending upon the decision the board makes about how to move forward, there are several different ways which that might be funded. And none of them are related to the 2026 budget. On the other hand, and I don't have the exact dollar amount, but the 2025 budget did include some money in the planning department for consulting services to start the master planning process for the non-TID areas. And I know that's what community development has been planning to use. And there is some money in that line for 2026 as well. Off the top of my head, I want to say that it was $30,000 each year that was set aside. Does that?
Times two. Their contracted
Okay.
services line has $65,000.
65.
There's $60,000 available to fund the study, the public information.
Again, two different things. There's $65,000 available for the Village Center master plan. There is a separate project is the community engagement for the Flower Source. And there is not money budgeted for that, but again, for those expenses, costs when the board makes a decision on how to proceed.
So we can get money to pay for something when the village board, if the village board decides to get another round of public input.
Correct.
I don't have to budget for it.
So typically, we would want to budget for those things, but there are cases where it doesn't make sense to follow the typical budget process. And in this case, we've been following a little bit different process.
Okay, so I don't have to put something in the budget. Money will be available
Correct.
for the village center, the Flower Source.
For the Flower Source, yes.
Engagement.
Yes.
And to your comment about it's off the tax rolls, the Gross Sticks property is off the tax rolls. Flower Sources, the Ascension property is still on the tax rolls of triple net lease. Plus we're getting year over year lease payments of $426,000. So trustee Jen Miller.
I just wanted to make a point. The Flower Source properties, or, those properties right there, that is part of the village center.
Correct.
I don't understand why you need two.
Because there's a village center district, which is the overall central business area. And then
Village.
that's the overall 150 acres.
Right.
And then we dubbed the Flower Source as the village center when it first came through. So it got a little confusing.
Well, that is very confusing. It's all part of the village center district. That's my point. That's all.
Okay, getting back to state transportation aid reallocation. Your recommendations are again?
So my recommendation would be to allocate those funds according to my memo. We'd remove all interest earnings from the general fund and just track interest earnings in the capital reserve fund that was created last year. So what we would do is as we earn interest, we would just let it sit in that capital reserve account, and then the village board could allocate those funds, in any given time for specific capital projects. So instead of issuing bonds for that, we would just pay for those projects in cash. Currently, we budgeted $58,000 in 2025. Any interest earnings over what we currently budget in the general fund are going to that account. So far, we haven't, met our budget amount in 2025, so there's been no funds that have been allocated to that account in 25. In 26, we would just like to allocate all interest earnings to that account. So the board would have, a cash reserve fund for capital projects.
Brian, would we need a motion for this?
Yeah, ultimately you would. The motion would be to, if you just wanted to approve staff's recommendations to, just to amend the proposed budget to reflect the changes that are reflected in the memo that was handed out. I think if I'm looking at it correctly, there's a couple items that were on some of the notes that would get taken out of the notes and just paid for out of these funds. And
Correct.
I think the motion would just automatically do those things. So you wouldn't need to go through each one individually to, for example, like the Wienbach pond pump, I think was one of the items that was on one of the notes. You would take that out of the borrowing just kind of automatically by a motion to adopt this. You wouldn't need to go through each one individually to do it. Of course, you could if you wanted to.
Can you create a,
But-
can you, go ahead, Jan.
Well, I would rather see an updated document because it's pretty late, Obviously, we don't have Wiedenbach Park. And we already,
So the
oh, we
proposal
do
would
have
be-
that.
Right, the proposal would be that if you paid for the pump out of the excess or the extra
Oh.
transportation funds, that if you agreed to pay for it out of the transportation funds, you would just automatically remove that out of the borrowing that you had approved, 2 hours ago.
That is correct. The pond pump wasn't part of the capital borrowing, but that is how that would work. So for example, the library gutter seam repair is included in the capital borrowing. If this recommendation is approved, we wouldn't borrow for it. We'd pay for it out of the general fund.
So Brian, what would the proposed recommended motion be?
Yeah, so if you just wanted to approve it as proposed, the motion would be a motion to amend the proposed budget to reflect the changes recommended by staff in the memo that was handed out this evening, which would include the appropriate changes to the capital borrowing program accordingly.
I will make that motion.
And if I could just make one comment, we did make a motion on the village board professional development. If you wanted to remove that, we can
Yeah, we
remove
wanna do
that
that.
since
We
that
wanna
was
remove
voted down. In addition, the 5 rifles, I believe, were removed from the capital project. If you wanted to fund those with cash and still do that project, you could. Otherwise, those funds would still be available for allocation.
Right.
I will include the change to the professional development in my motion. Yes.
I'll second.
Great. Discussion.
Are we adding the rifles back in too?
I'm not. You want to do that as amendment?
I'd like to make an amendment to add the rifles also to this motion.
Can we ask Chief Merton if he would rather have the rifles or something else from his list?
I thought
Shaking
the
his head
lights were
no.
more important.
Rifles are fine. He said,
I thought the lights were more important.
Yeah.
I can't hear him.
he's coming.
He's coming.
We have the sale of our handguns yet, because we purchased new ones this year. The sale of those handguns could possibly pay for those lights for the rifles.
Good idea.
So the rifles would be the better option then.
Trustee Baum, are you okay with adding what? So we don't have to do a second vote?
Sure, I will include the rifles in my motion as well, if that's okay with my second.
Great. And who seconded this?
So I guess just for clarity,
Yes.
you're suggesting that you want to add into the budget the 1,500 for the professional development and add in the money for the rifles? As
Without the
as
1,500.
suggested in this?
No, pull
No,
out,
you want to
pull out the 1500.
Professional development removed from this list
Right.
because we added it in to our budget already.
No, you took that out.
No, we
You
took-
removed, you changed
It
it
was
down to 5.
It was
Got
5
funding for that already.
and it was shot down. So we're not adding 1,500.
Well, you want to take it out.
5.
Take out the 1,500.
I'm gonna take out the 1,500. And I am taking out the 8,100 for guns,
Adding them in,
adding that in,
Adding.
adding them in.
adding that in.
Right, so, and that was gonna be my point, is
Okay.
that the motion as I contemplated it and stated it would include the addition of all of these things as is.
Okay,
So
so
if you're looking to remove any of the items off of here, i.e. the professional development fees, you would make a motion to remove that. But if you want to leave any of these items in, then you would just leave it as is.
well, then my original motion is right.
Yeah, so I will withdraw my amendment.
What's the?
I-
Okay, what is the motion that we're going to vote on?
Going home.
No, not yet.
Yeah.
You want to keep the
Sure.
memo as is, including the professional development at 1,500 and the rifles at 8,100?
not including.
You want to remove both of those then?
No, remove
Remove the
the
1,500.
1,500.
Under
Add the
professional
rifles.
development, the rifles are staying, so the only one is removing is the professional development for 1,500.
So that is the
Okay.
new list. That is the new list we're voting on.
But
You okay with that, Brian?
Reduced to the
Okay.
15.5
question,
or however.
Jan Miller.
you have 4 bullet points, but there's no value to it. Restore seal code funding to pre-2024 levels.
No. We're only talking about the lower half of the memo
Thank
on
you.
the staff recommendations and the dollar amounts. And the new list now includes, we struck the $1,500 and we added in the rifles. So that is the new list.
Whole list as is minus the $1,500 for professional development.
So you don't,
Don't talk about rifles anymore because it's in there already.
Because he said
Okay.
it's okay.
So staying as is.
okay,
As-
gotcha. All right. And who seconded this?
Jolene,
Thank you, Jolene. Further discussion?
Just
Seeing
a
none, all those-
question, do we need to add in another project because we're below 170, so we haven't utilized all the funds?
There'd be 4340 left over.
You could allocate that to some other part of the budget. You could just leave that as additional revenue that's unallocated.
that is what
Leave it
my motion
unallocated.
does. Makes it unallocated.
Okay, great. Further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Aye.
To do roll call?
No.
Jolene was opposed.
Jolene, you opposed?
Correct.
That motion carries. Anything else?
The last item on the agenda is public hearing notice publication. And this is basically where Matthew takes all of the information from the decisions tonight and prepares a series of tables in compliance with state statute, and that gets published as an official notice in our newspaper of record, which is the Journal Sentinel, and we also have been publishing it in recent years in the Germantown Express. And that notices the public that there will be a public hearing on the budget on November 17th. And I guess that if the board approves that, then we'll go ahead with that. And that does then complete the work that needs to get done on the budget before November 17th. We do have another committee of the whole meeting scheduled for next Tuesday, but if you do this, if you don't have any additional questions or action items on the budget, we can move forward with this, move ahead with the publication, and we'll be ready for final review and adoption of the budget on November 17th.
Well, we don't have any agenda items for the Cal meeting for next week, correct?
Correct, unless you all have other things that you want to add and meet again on the next Tuesday.
Trustee Rick
I
Miller.
do.
I'll move approval of publishing the proposed budget and creating a public hearing. Is
Second.
that what you need?
Do we have discussion? Trustee
I
Baum.
have questions.
Okay, hold on. Trustee Baum's got the floor.
No, I just motioned her, I seconded it.
Okay. Trustee Peeper.
Yeah, so I do have several other questions that I believe that Matthew would be able to answer one-on-one, so I do not waste your time going through them. However, I do feel as if I have several other motions I would like to make to cut the budget in several different departments. I don't feel comfortable passing the whole entire budget as of tonight, but I will ask these questions. I will be prepared to make the motions and back it up with data at the next village board meeting, and I promise I wouldn't take all of your time because I would have been briefed on it all. If we can just put off passing the whole budget tonight, I'd
Yeah,
appreciate
We are
it.
passing the budget.
Yeah, and just to be clear, we're not past, the only time we can pass the budget is after the public hearing on November 17th. All we're doing tonight is moving
Okay.
forward with the notice
Okay.
of the public hearing. At that meeting, we typically, recommend not making significant changes. If there are going to be changes made at that village board meeting, if we get those in advance, or at least, be able to balance it in advance, so we're prepared that night. Because after that
Sure.
night, we're not allowed to make any changes. So what we pass that night will be the
So-
2026 budget.
So can we have an agenda item for our next regular village board meeting? Just saying additional budget questions, cuts, additions. Would that be okay? But I promise I will do my due diligence beforehand and I will come prepared and I will have all of the information because we did it different this year. And this is all new to me, but I still have questions on other departments, their regular line items.
And Jolene, I'll add on to that. Some of us didn't have a great opportunity to have these discussions because we aren't on the committees that did the majority of the lift.
That's right.
So it was, I
Correct,
didn't
but I
like this
don't
process
agree.
at all.
Correct, but I don't expect everybody to be able to do kind of a superficial audit of the budget. As you see, I like digging deep with numbers. They have to make sense to me. And there's still a lot of questions that I still have. So Matt, we're gonna become besties.
So if we
Looking
put that
forward
on the village board agenda, will that conflict with the motion?
Well, that would, and it actually, that would create another issue because there is a publication deadline for the budget. If we were to take this up at the October 20th village board meeting, that would be too late for the publication deadline to get the notice out in time.
So that
I would,
actually leads to my next question
Well,
is
well-
who determined or how is it determined what our publication of choice is and who the heck chose the Milwaukee Journal Sentinel?
Yeah.
I'll let the village attorney answer that one.
I want that changed.
need it.
That is set by resolution of the village board and could be changed. I think typically we look at possibly changing that every year at the organizational meeting where we designate an official paper for the purposes of things that we need to publish. So we could certainly explore
Sure.
that again in April when we have our next reorganizational meeting.
Well, yes, can we please, well, I don't know who is involved in the reorganizational meeting, but I've been on the board almost 6 years and I've never once voted for our publication of choice.
I believe that to be incorrect without looking at the minutes and everything else, but you've been here when we've had votes on it.
Please tell me when it was because I would
I'll
sure
look
as
at-
We'll
heck
research that and
not
get back
have
to you, trustee
picked
Peeper.
the Milwaukee Journal Sentinel.
Yeah, the village attorney will research that and circle back with you. So, but my question is, will trustee Peeper as well as other trustees have an opportunity to revisit the budget?
Then I believe we should keep the meeting on Tuesday and have, if there's additional questions and additional changes, then we should keep the committee of the whole meeting scheduled for Tuesday as planned and go through that at that point. So that we're able to finalize a proposed budget for publication.
Just for clarity too, the official paper is not the Journal Sentinel, it's the Northwest Now, which is
That's right.
published by the Journal
Published by
Sentinel.
the Journal
So if
Sentinel.
that helps eliminate any confusion.
Okay, so the next committee of the whole meeting will be next Tuesday at 6:30. And any other unanswered questions relative to the budget will be discussed.
So the motion that's currently on the floor by trustee Richard Miller and seconded by Baum.
Guess I got to withdraw it.
Yep, it's withdrawn. So any further discussion, comments before we close the meeting? All right, thanks, everyone. We're adjourned at 10:02 PM. Thank you. Thank you for coming and drive home safe.